wish I had some music up in here. Bop, 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 bop. Hey, Miss Ward. Let me invite her. Did I invite her? I just sent an invitation. Hello, hello. I'll give more people some more time.
Hi,
Hey, hey, Laura, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So
Um,
I'll give people some more time to come in. But I just got up in here.
amazing. It's been so long. How you feeling, by the
I
way?
know. I'm feeling pretty good. You might hear me cough and sneeze. I'll try to mute myself or blow my nose because I did just have a little. I guess I had flu. It was like a flu, a mild flu. I had like body aches and stuff like that. I was like, man, am I getting body aches? What is this? And it hit
Uh,
for the week.
that happened to me last month, and I was like, I'm convinced it was some sort of mutant mega virus. It took me down. It took me down.
I was just like, let me sleep. I need to sleep.
Good.
And
I'm
that's
glad
all
you
I really just did. I was like, let me sleep. Shh, don't talk to me, nobody. Just let me
good,
sleep.
good, good.
And that's basically
Do
what
I
I did.
have this? I feel like my video is not
There's
connected.
no video on.
Hmm.
So tap your screen.
Yeah,
And if you tap your own screen, you should be able to take the camera on or off. Or I'll do it.
I got it.
Oh, I invited you to turn it on. I don't know.
Got
Maybe
it.
I had to invite you. I don't know. That's weird.
I don't know. And to be honest with you, I haven't done a live in like a million years.
I think the
So
last time you did a live was after we did a live, and that was
yeah,
when we started.
I think I did like one or two after that, and then I just fell off the face of the planet. So thank you for bringing me out of hibernation.
Oh, honey, ain't nothing wrong with it. I'm kind of in hibernation. So I'm supposed to be off TikTok, but I'm on TikTok. I guess I can't stay away from TikTok. I don't know
Yeah,
what's going to happen
you
with
can't get
TikTok.
off of TikTok now. Like if you like, we may all be off of TikTok in like 3 weeks. So like,
I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're trying to buy it or keep it around.
yeah,
So I hope that's going to happen
I hope so
pretty.
too.
I like TikTok. Who else down there likes TikTok? I know y'all are probably like, Renata, what you talking about? So today we're talking about histamine intolerance and a lot of time your gut health. And she's been talking a lot about histamine intolerance. So I thought I brought over and we'd have a talk about how histamine intolerance and a lot of other things are probably what your gut health kind of looks like. That could be because you aren't taking care of your gut. Histamine intolerance could be another component that you have to deal with and you have to take care of, and you just don't know, and you still don't know why you're still bloating. Maybe you've gotten enough L-glutamine in, but there's some other measurements that you might need to be in or that might be affecting your gut health because
Or
our
you're
guts.
doing all the things and it's getting worse, and you're like, why is it getting worse? I don't understand. Probiotics are supposed to be good for you. Yeah.
Exactly, and it's just you're not using the right things or you don't understand the exact right combinations that you need. And that's the thing about, yes, Nay, you caught me. You caught me because it's been a while though. I haven't done a live in a while. Because a lot of things that are coming up is they're going to be very, very nuanced. And that's what I've been trying to teach y'all and trying to get y'all to understand is healthcare is, they've made us think it's a black and white thing, that it's perfectly, this is the protocol you need and this is how it's exactly going to be.
Can we talk about that for a second? Because that is actually probably the reason why we keep getting stuck in these like circles. Like this is why I feel like the
Yeah.
whole like magic pill next solution, which supplement is the perfect supplement. I know you posted about that. Like that's where it comes from. It comes from the way that we have been taught that healthcare, like it's almost like you have to fit in a funnel. And so if we find the right funnel, then we go down the steps and we figure out which is the little algorithm that's best for you. But you're not an algorithm. And I think that's inherently the problem.
Yeah, because you got to think about this. Your DNA is going to be different in Hawaii than it would be in New York.
Yes. Yes.
And we're not talking about that enough. You're going to be very different in very different states, and you just have to understand that certain things are going to work with you well, and it all depends on your DNA. You're tired of guessing what your body
I
needs.
know. I know.
That's the hardest thing is
No.
guessing. But the thing is, we have never been originally taught. You're not so much guessing. You're trying to read. We've never been taught how to read what our body is interacting with well and what it's not interacting with well.
That's the part of traditional medicine, like traditional herbalism, like Western, like Eastern traditions, like herbalism. That's the part that it was very solidly grounded in, was being able to connect with what your body actually needs in the moment. And that's what Western medicine we
Doesn't do.
doesn't do.
So that's why it seems like a guessing game, because a lot of us have never been connected fully in with our body and what our body should do, or what our body is going through. And that's the thing. Our society, somebody said, stress brung on so many illnesses for me.
Yes.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Welcome to my world. That's why I talk so much about stress, because it is like the catapult into a lot of diseases that we didn't know about. Your gut health, done. Histamine intolerance, that's one of the catapults.
Exactly.
That can be one of the things into like your histamine intolerance and your body not producing the things that it needs to produce because it doesn't have the nutrients. It doesn't have all the supplies, because when you're stressed, what are you happening? You're in depletion. Your body is automatically going to be starting to get into depletion because it needs more and more, because it's in a fight or flight state, and it's like, I need more of that. We're running like a train going 160 miles an hour. Let's go. I need more coal. And that's more of the coal you need. I need more vitamin C. I need more of these things. And that's where sometimes histamine intolerance issues come in, because you don't have enough of the vitamin C. You don't have enough of the magnesium or vitamin D that is going to play a part in that. You don't have enough of those B vitamins that's going to help and keep your gut, enough of the L-glutamine that a lot of us think, oh, they don't really need. That's just a workout supplement. No, a lot of us in stress are depleted and our bodies deteriorate from a lot of those things.
Well, and think
especially
about
women.
Histamine. Histamine is an immune response. It's like the first domino of the effect that triggers your immune system. So let's back up a little bit. Histamine is as in antihistamine. It's like that. It's a neurotransmitter that triggers the way that your body then builds an immune response. So based on the way that histamine essentially is delivered, then the rest of the immune system sort of goes, okay, we have to do a thing. And it comes, I equate it to a water balloon. So the delivery mechanism is a water balloon. It's a mast cell. The mast cell is full, instead of water, with histamine. And if something punctures the mast cell, the balloon bursts and histamine goes all over the place. And that's meant to be like a red flag. We need attention on this thing, blah, blah, blah. Stress says it's the same message. Unaddressed trauma, mental health stuff, all of those things, all of those triggers, not just like pollen, not just dust, not just your allergies, are going to send stress signals to the body to go, do something about this. Red flag. We need to like actually remove this thing that you're doing right now. So we kind of like think histamine is like just this allergy thing, but I think of it more like a canary in the coal mine. When it's gotten to the point that your histamine is so reactive to everything, that you're so reactive to your environment, it means that you have been stuck there for a really long time, and we need to get that out first.
Yeah, we do need to get that out first. Look, somebody said something about there's these 2 bottles of pills they keep posting on here for hormones and probiotics. I don't know if it'll help. So,
probiotics.
Yeah, so because you're trying
one of the many ads are you getting hit with?
No, because there are so many ads. And the thing about it is, especially when we're picking supplements, I think sometimes they like to throw things out that this is cost effective, that this is this, and this has the few little things. But we have to also look at, I think that's why I made a supplement list. Look at how is it produced? Where is it sourced? Are those things going to be, because the sourceability and what they're tracing and what they're dealing with and who produced it is going to play a role in how much you can use those long term. Because a lot of those ones that they're pushing out, you can probably only use for a short amount of time, like very short amount of time, a month or two, you feel its effects, and then it's gone. And a lot of times
super sensitive because of your histamine issues. So like you look at the bottle,
probiotics, there's certain things you can't and you can't have. And that's another thing. And that's like why a lot of us, we're here to help help you with a lot of that, especially with hormones and probiotics, because hormones play a part in that histamine and histamine intolerance. And it could be those two hormones and the probiotics you're taking may not be as effective as you need because of the way that has hit. The way histamine is being affected in your body. You may not have the right amount of probiotic, or a certain probiotic could react it and make the histamine just go out of control.
Look, I want to be super clear too. Like, it's not like it could be a great supplement. I'm not going to say, I literally don't know which one we're talking about, right? Like,
I don't either. They're
right? No
calling it
clue. It
Ozempic
could
in a
be
bottle.
amazing. It could be amazing. It sounds like it might be berberine. That's kind of like what I think it might be, is maybe berberine. Um,
But I don't
so
know about probiotic and hormones. But I know Burberry is Ozempic in a bottle.
yeah, kind
But
of. That's why I'm like, I wonder if it's that, because I hear that statement a lot. But to be honest, I feel like they throw Ozempic on top of anything just because it's like catchy and it goes viral or
baby,
whatever.
they'll make water Ozempic.
Well, and honestly, I'm okay with that.
They'll make water
You know
Ozempic.
what?
They'll be
Reminder to hydrate. Thank you. Yeah.
like, so it has Burberry in it. It might have something else. What could
Okay.
cause low IgE? So that's a different subject. But that
Different
go
subject.
ahead.
I'm gonna give you a real quick on that one. I have found people with low IG. So there's a genetic component to it. There are some people who
That's
can't
what I'm about
produce
to say.
immunoglobulins. There's a different
Yeah,
component.
certain immunoglobulins, and so depending on, I couldn't remember IgE was something else. But keep going.
There's a name for it, and I have a patient that has it, and I cannot think of what that name is. So blanking out at the moment. But I will say I have also seen people when they don't have enough of a reaction to their environment. I particularly see it in people who have had intestinal permeability, also known as leaky gut, for such a long time, and they've had such a long time of immune, like all their nutrients
Yes.
that power their immune system have been depleted, and their body has essentially been fighting either a chronic infection or because their immune system is so dysregulated that they end up not being able to make immunoglobulins. And we make 80% of our immunoglobulins in our gut,
Okay.
right? The first one that we make is secretory IgA. Well,
A.
that's
I
not
think it's
100%
A.
accurate, but one of the first ones that we make is
IgA,
secretory.
IgM,
I
IgG,
think
and
IgM
IgE.
is
I
first,
think,
and then it's
and then
IgA,
IG,
and then it's
something like that.
IgE. Yeah,
I was
yeah,
about to say,
something like that. Yeah, don't.
good
If,
girl.
if somebody knows what the first immunoglobulin you make is, drop
I
it in the
want to say it's
comments.
IgM. I thought.
I think it's IgM too. But secretory IgA is actually something that we can measure, and when we see secretory IgA go high, that usually means there's a inflammation in your gut. But a lot of times, everybody has all the signs and symptoms of being of having leaking gut, but then their secretory IgA is low. And that's a sign that you're not making enough because you're out of resources. Your immune system is so overwhelmed, you don't have enough nutrients, your mitochondria are exhausted. And so your body's literally like, I can either keep the lights on and power her brain and her heart, or I can make this immunoglobulin thing. Guess what? I'm not going to make the immunoglobulin thing. It's like if you have a budget and you only have a certain amount of money coming in, you got to decide if you're going to pay the light bill, if you're going to pay rent, if you're going to buy groceries. Your body's making the same decisions when it's out of fuel.
It is. When it's out of fuel, it's just like, how do I survive? Let me shut
Yeah.
her down. And
Yeah.
sometimes it'll shut you down. It shut me down. It was like,
Yeah.
lay down because we can't do anything right now.
Lay
So
down.
all you can do is rest. All you can do is rest because that's what happened before. Like when I had to quit my job, I was like, it was like
Yeah.
shut down. We can't do
Yes.
anything. All we can do is you have to rest and we can help you survive. We need other things. We're out
Yeah.
of magnesium. We're out of vitamin D. We're out of a lot of supplements.
Yeah.
What
MCV.
causes
What's MCV?
that mean
Mean
corpuscle
corpuscular volume.
volume? That's what I put. I typed it in there.
Oh, you
I
did. I
always say
didn't see it.
corpuscular
Yeah.
wrong. Yeah, typed it in there. So what causes low energy, fatigue, and like concentration? That could be a lot of things. But again,
Everything. Stress.
your gut, it's because stress dies into that. When your heart cortisol is going high, then that's gonna mess with inflammation. That's also going to mess with metabolism. It's going to mess with the nutrients that you're getting to your brain, and if they're crossing to the blood-brain barrier, because we have other things to do, we got to pump your heart. We have to make sure all of those things are going. That we're going to put your metabolism away, so we're probably not going to fully metabolize the nutrients that you have that you need, and that is going to play a huge role in a lot of fatigue and a
Yeah.
lot of tiredness. A lot of times your adrenals and your cortisol being up
Again,
can
you've
be
got a
fatigue.
limited budget every month, right? So where are you going to put your funds in? What are you going to keep turning on? And the body's always going to prioritize the functions that are necessary for life, right?
Pumping your
So
blood, making your heart continue to go, helping you to breathe.
exactly.
That's just base
You getting
level.
up and going to your Orange Theory workout is very, very low on that priority list,
Very low.
right? So is growing new hair, making sure your nails are strong, making sure your skin looks good, right? So a lot of times these superficial symptoms are actually telling us that your body is starting to reprioritize resources.
And it's
And
depleted. It's
exactly.
very
So
depleted.
exactly. And so it might seem like superficial, or like people will come to me like a lot, they're like, I don't know why my hair won't grow, my hair's falling out. And it's like, okay, we got to figure out what's depleted and why it's depleted. 9 times out of 10, we can say, like, let's use hair loss as an example. 9 times out of 10, I'd be like, okay, we can look and see, is this a thyroid issue? Is this an iron issue? Are there other nutrients that we need? What else is going on? Sure. But at the end of the day, why are you so stressed? How do we get here?
And you have a right to be stressed. We work in America. That's all I'm gonna say. We work in an environment that's push, push, push,
Yeah.
push, push, push. We're gonna treat you like a robot. If a robot passed out in our society and said, "I don't want to do this anymore," what do you? They're doing that to us. They're
Yeah.
doing that to us. So
Yes.
if they're doing that to us, what do you expect their body to do, and how do you expect your body to react? And it's gonna pass out like that robot. And
Yes.
so a lot of us are stressed in that way. We're not learning to say no. We're just learning to go with the cause. And we've kind of been put onto a lot of material things that we have to have this and we have to do this, especially in the society that we live in, because that kind of is important to survive and to move into certain beings. But
Yeah.
some of us are using other vices and addictions, and we're not knowing that's adding more to our stress instead of helping us to actually deal with it. It's adding to a bigger portion of our stress.
Yeah. And like I think about it too, like a lot of the
Yeah.
patients that I talk to, they're kind of split. They have all these responsibilities to other people that are really important, right? Kids, family, they're taking care of like parents, they're caregivers, like all these like really important responsibilities, work responsibilities, like all the things. But
Yeah.
they still don't prioritize the responsibilities they have for themselves. And somehow
Got
that's
to
been
be.
positioned as selfish. And somehow that's been positioned like if I actually need to set a boundary and say, I have to go take care of myself, I do deserve an hour to go rest or to go take a walk or to, I don't know, just take a nap, whatever you need to actually like protect your body. We'll do that for our children. We'll do that for our pets, but we don't often think about how to do that for ourselves. And I see that a lot, and it really impacts people's health. Like, and it's kind of part of our training in society. It happens a
As,
lot to women.
especially,
I'm gonna
it's
say
mainly
just
women.
women,
So
but
eighty
it's a
percent of
lot
eighty
women.
percent of the people 80% of the people that have autoimmune diseases are women. And it's because of how women have been taught in society. Forget yourself. What you need is not important. Let's make sure
Yes.
everybody else is good.
Yeah. Yes, we have to heal ourselves first. Oh, hey. Yes, exactly. If we're not the virtuous woman, exactly, and just like constantly giving, and the best caregivers are the ones that put everybody else first. And look, I respect and appreciate it. I think we're in healthcare. I think we came to healthcare because we want to help people, right? And so I get that. And also, I have had to learn the hard way that it's really important for me to like reprioritize boundaries and to say no to things that don't serve my health's best interests because I live in this body. I have to take care of it and I have to pay all its bills.
Yes, they're not the ones that want a surgery if you have to go to surgery, or if you get so sick you have to have this or have that. They're not the ones doing that. They might be the ones like, "Oh, I'm so sorry that you have to deal with it." It's like, no, shut up. I got to deal with this, so you need to go. And that's
Exactly.
something I've had to learn. Sorry, no, I don't have time for that. And
Exactly.
we're taught to give so much time to so many other people than ourselves in that prioritization, and that is really more of a. And I think more women are starting to wake up and see. A lot
Yeah.
of people are starting to wake up and see
Totally.
that it's slowly. There are a lot of people are starting to wake up and see because it's going to take a slow cycle. If you've known for 30 to 40 years, this is what you do. How do you turn something around in a day that you've done for 30 to 40 years? And
Exactly.
it's been ingrained in your DNA before
And
you even
everybody
came out the
tells you
womb.
they tell you you're wrong. Like they're not even shy about being like, that's selfish. Like it's not like sometimes I think it absolutely is us. We don't speak up for ourselves because we're afraid people are going to tell us that we're being selfish. But no, people have the audacity to tell you you're being selfish.
Being
And
selfish.
yeah. And so the pressure is real. Like, I'm not even saying that this is like just an internal thing and get over it. No, the pressure is real. And, like one good example, I've started to put in my calendar, like when I'm going to work out, like when I'm going to take a walk, when I'm going to like, and it's in my calendar, right? I can move it a little bit. So if something comes up, I can change it an hour here, an hour there, but like the hour is like accounted for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And tell me how many times I'm sitting here preaching this and how many times I have been like on a meeting and it's ran late and I'm like, I'm supposed to go do my workout. I'm supposed to take a walk. And I allow whatever it is to creep into my time, right? So it's legitimate because sometimes you get asked to do things, whether it's work responsibilities, family responsibilities, that seem to be more important in that moment than you. And then I'm like, but what about the responsibility I have to take care of this, right?
Mm-hmm. And one thing I've learned about balance is not all the time balancing it perfectly correctly. You may have a month, like I had a month in December where I was like, I didn't really go work out that much.
Yeah.
I don't think I worked out that much. But the other months I did pretty good. But you're going to have these slots where you don't.
Yes,
But you have to know how to get back on track and be like, did I go do this for myself? Did I take
exactly.
care of myself for this? Did I do this? Somebody said I stressed myself into eczema.
Stre-
That can happen.
Strexima. Strexima.
Strexima, that can happen. Because you got to remember, stress is going to put you into a place where again you're depleted, so your body is going to be a whole lot hungrier when you are stressed. If you're in a stress place, you find yourself eating, snacking, you're stress eating because your body needs that. Your body one wants the comfort because it's in a tough place, but it's also going to need those nutrients because your nutrients are getting used up because of that heart rate, because of that blood pressure, because of you breathing. I mean, you got to breathe. You
Because of
got
the
to
way that
breathe.
stress also impacts your microbiome, right? And your
Exactly.
microbiome sending all these messages, and that's going to impact the way you even process and metabolize your food. Like
Exactly.
that's how ingrained.
And you
Lady
can
Larry,
find yourself eating that
yeah,
cheese that's probably messing with your eczema.
Gabby is saying any flare can happen from stress. I cannot think of a single thing. I cannot think of a single condition that is not made worse by stress. I can't. There
No,
is not one.
no,
It literally is it's a modifying factor. It's a driver in like
the
every
hugest.
condition.
The hugest. Even when they're talking about when you have autoimmune lupus or anything like, deal with your stress, heart stress,
Yes.
asthma stress,
Yes.
everything. It can inflame your lungs. Inflammation all over your body is
Yes.
started by stress,
Stress.
period. And a continuous, and it can be small stressors. A lot of us, we don't think we have this huge stress, but we have these small stressors every
Yes.
day. Like your kids calling you mom every 5 seconds, and you're like, what? I got to do this. I got to do that over here. I'm balancing that. I'm balancing that. Then I got to go. Those are stressors that are adding up and turning into chronic stress over time. And your body is continually being inflamed over and over again. Even if it seems like you go home and go to sleep and take a rest from work or you take a rest from your kids, it's those triggers are still being hit because you're thinking, have you ever, I used to work at a job and that job was so bad, the phone used to ring so much, I would be so triggered. I would be in my dreams hearing a phone ring and I would be like,
Oh,
hello,
I
Perone,
used,
hello,
I
Perone,
used to
hello,
work
Perone.
at, okay,
I used to be so bad in that,
for
and
real.
I'd wake up and be like, oh, I'd have
I used to work
nightmares.
at CVS. I used to work at CVS. And the CVS phones, if y'all have ever been to a CVS, they don't ring. They say one pharmacy call, one doctor call, one drive-through call. I cannot walk into a CVS and walk by the pharmacy and hear that. It literally triggers me. It is like the idea of I have to answer the phone. I don't even like phone calls anymore. So that's real.
I don't either.
So
I screen calls so hard. I'll be missing calls that I need to
don't call.
have because it's a number I don't know. And I'm like, I hope this is somebody I know. I can't do it because it's like, I'm like,
Yeah.
that job just, I was always picking the phone. Hello, Crowns, Crowns, Crowns. And it would
Uh-huh.
just be over and over. And I had nightmares. I literally was waking up shaking. I was literally waking up shaking sometimes because I was like, did I get the phone? I remember that. The things like that, little things like that, you don't know, play a huge part in your body and your body's responses. Those things trigger your body. Like the body keeps a score. It's saying the body keeps a
Yes.
score because half of your diseases, just like the histamine intolerance,
Yes.
is starting because stress. And over time, that stressor has gone on and on. Even a poor relationship will
Yes.
kill you.
That's actually probably the worst because
The
think
worst.
about it. Those relationships are the closest to you. They have the most influence on your mental well-being and your health. Everything, the habits, your day-to-day habits, your priorities, your boundaries, the expectations that you have, and the stress that you endure. We are willing to put up with way more from somebody who is close to us than we are from a stranger. right? And so those relationships, those people we let into our lives are going to have the biggest influence on our nervous system.
Most
100%.
definitely.
100%. And if we're talking books, I have to bring up my favorite, Gabor Mate.
Oh,
That's
I
my
love Gabor Mate.
I love him so much. He's like the world's grandpa. Like he is so brilliant. And if yeah, let me know in the comments if you guys have heard of Gabor Mate's work, but he does a lot of work kind of similar to The Body Keeps Score. It actually builds on that work in terms of how particularly autoimmune disease is impacted by stress and by uh, the social contracts that we
Constructs?
sign.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That we sign up to, particularly women in society, and how our kind of role within that society is impacted by those expectations, those unrealistic expectations of being everybody else's caregiver and not our own caregiver. Such great work. And
Yeah.
he's great to listen to too. He's just has got the soothing way about him. I love him.
He does, but I
Girl.
think it's because and the thing is, it's great because it's not he's just speaking of research. He's speaking from life experience, and life experience will take you a lot longer because you lived in it. You've
Yeah.
seen somebody break down, and
Yeah.
yes, it was unfortunate that it had to happen that way, but it was unfortunate mine had to happen that way. But the breakdown has helped you. Sometimes you have to come to the most challenging moment for you to see how can I change this for other people, because that's
Yeah.
the most important part. That's really where healing starts, is how do we change it for others if we've experienced it or we've seen so many of it. How do we deal in how will we help people deal in this? Because a lot of people love to talk about things, but they've never really experienced it, and then they're ready to be like, yeah, it does happen. But it's like, I think you
It's
forgot
like
the
the
nuance.
cognitive has to meet the heart part, right? Like the part of your
Exactly.
brain that sort of gets it, and like
Yeah.
you can wrap your head around the research, and there is research around this. This is
Yeah.
very evidence backed, right? But there has to be a human connection and a way to relate to that experience that makes it like, okay, applicable. All right, this is relatable. This makes sense. I see myself in that. And I think that's what gets people to listen and to potentially start changing what they're doing to hopefully improve.
Because that's not really the only way you can touch people, is to say this is my experience, because your experience is going to show up in a lot of other people's experience. Because
Yes.
if you're just telling spitting facts, that's why I try not to get up here and just say these are facts. This is something I've gone through. Because you can spit facts all day, and I
Yes.
think that's what's happening in healthcare is a lot of doctors are just, these are the facts. This is what I saw in a study. Like,
Yes.
nigga, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say it like that, but like, come on. There's a no, and like people are loving to go around. There's no study about that, and it's like there is. You have to dig deeper. Did you ask the right question? And what does that study tell you? Are you really
Well,
looking
and
at the
are the
study?
people who are publishing the studies asking the right question, right? Or
Ooh,
are we
ooh,
asking
ooh.
questions because we are
Eric,
trying to get to a certain answer versus is this really truly trying to understand what the solution can be? You know what I mean?
no, yeah,
So I think it's a balance. Look, I use studies a lot when I talk. Like I'm like, this study says this
yeah.
study says that. But you're right. I think telling it in a story, making it applicable, like, why should you even listen to me? Like, so what? I know a study says that, but how am I going to actually use that information? I think that's the important part.
That is because a lot of people, you can use studies to lie and do
Oh,
statistics
you
and
can?
play your game and do whatever you need to
Yes.
do. And that's the small nuance part that some people haven't learned, that just because there's a study does not mean it's fully applicable to that situation. Does not mean that.
Or Gotti, I just got the number one gifter
Oh,
badge.
because he just
For a
gave me a
second,
gift
I
bag.
rushed Reddit and I was like, the number one grifter badge. I was like, who's going after you?
Grifter. He's a grifter. He's a grifter. No, I'm joking. He's not gonna say nothing, so he can talk mess all we want. He's not gonna say nothing. He's a grifter. But anyway, question: script labels are more confusing. Can we learn how to read them? What do you mean when you script labels are more confusing? As in when your doctor writes the script or your actual
Like the actual,
prescription that you get?
yeah, like the bad handwriting part.
Because we can't read them either, baby. I'll be calling the phone. Like, what is this? My own hospital. I'll be like, what did he say?
You know what's funny? I used to be so good at reading bad handwriting. Like I was like a
You get
specialty
good.
of mine, right? I was so good at it because I mean, like I spent like 20 years reading bad prescriptions. And then we went
You
to
said,
electronic, right? We went electronic. and I stopped getting as much practice.
And
And
you
I'm not
still,
as, it's
you're
a
like gibberish.
it's a skill you have to practice.
Yes.
Also, sidebar, everybody, like it's Latin, literally Latin. I'm not like being like funny. Like it's literally written in Latin. That's why you don't understand it. That's
Yeah.
why.
So, and a lot of bottle labels. So you're talking about the labels that we put on your script. Are they really hard to read?
Yeah. Yeah, I want to
I'm
know
trying to
what you
figure that
mean.
out. I want to
Yeah.
know what you mean when you say that too.
Yeah.
Bad handwriting is the lies they tell. Uh, uh,
No, it's just dysgraphia. Like I think they
it's
just
like
are.
I don't know what happens. I think it happens because they never like practice their script. Because I can say my handwriting is really bad because
Yeah.
I never practiced my script after a while, and
Yeah.
I just like scribble my name. And I was like,
Yes.
I'm practicing to already
I
be a
have to
doctor.
focus if I need to write. So I am guilty of bad handwriting. But I will say, old school doctors used to tell, again, I've been doing this for a minute. Old school doctors used to tell me that they used to teach them. This is back in the day. This isn't like, I'm talking like 60s, 70s. They used to teach them to write bad because they said it's important. It was a way to make sure that the conversation stayed sort of like private between the doctor and the pharmacy. And so they would
Yes,
teach them. So part of the reason we still write in Latin sig codes, meaning that
yes.
it's abbreviated Latin script, is to kind of translate that so it's only the pharmacist could understand it. I don't agree with it. It's kind of patriarchal. Like, listen to me. There's no conversation about this. But that's kind of why that's where the whole like doctors have bad handwriting. That's where it comes from.
To me, that's stupid. No. That,
I
and
agree.
I'll be telling patients, I'll be like,
It's
question
a
your doctor about this. I'll be like,
yeah,
I'll be on the side,
100%.
question them. Go ask your doctor. You pay them.
Yeah.
Run this. Tell
Yes.
them that they need to do this. You pay
Bring
them this.
this
Excuse me. I'm
to
sorry. I'm saying,
me. And look, sometimes the doctor doesn't have time, but that is what your pharmacist is for. And the number
yeah,
of times people do not want to bother the pharmacist, like that's what we're there for.
yeah.
That's what we're there for. So please
Some
ask
people
us
don't
questions.
believe. For years, people didn't believe. So I worked at a place. The label in the medicine bottle contains way more information. It contains way more information because you got to call it. They have to have the doctor's information on there. They have to have a script number on there. Legally, we have to have so much information on there. We
I
have to have
think
your
you're talking
refills on
about
there.
the bottle, the original bottle, the stock bottle that the meds come in, and the information that like the medical information that comes in the insert versus the
Oh,
label
oh,
when
oh,
we repackage
oh.
it on the label. I think
Oh,
that's
they have to do that. Period. Too. We have to do that legally. They have to do
a
that.
legal
But
thing. Yes,
they
that's a
still
legal thing.
legally keep some crap out too.
And to be honest with you, I don't know that the insert is you don't need that piece of paper, frankly. You can find that information easily, like that. You could go off the internet and get that information. So I don't know that that's the most important aspect. It's again going back to the way it's being translated and what's relevant for you, because not everything on that insert is necessarily going to be relevant for you anyway.
Yeah, but if it's like medicine bottle contains, yeah, they're gonna have a. They have to have so much information on a medicine bottle because we have to have the lot, the label. They number
Yes.
every pill, so we have to know what every pill and where it comes from. So a lot of times, information even on stock bottles, you'll see because you want to know where that's going and how
Yeah.
that's going and how they can count it, how they can control it. That's
Yeah.
the whole point.
It's all
Control.
for tracking purposes, so we know where it's going, where it came from. If we have to go back to recalls and see, like, if there was a specific stock bottle that, a specific
They love to
lot
recall some
number
shit.
that got recalled or something like that. There's a lot going on there. But yeah, I get that. But
Hmm.
again, I think at the end of the day, your best resource is going to be the clinician that knows you and can translate the information in a way that makes sense to you. So building a relationship with somebody that you trust, I think, is the most important thing. And I say that realizing that a lot of clinicians don't make the time and don't make the space to have those conversations with
Mm-mm,
patients.
mm-mm,
Yeah.
mm-mm. But building trust is like the most important thing. I'm not here. I've never seen myself as I know more than you. I'm better. I do have to have that information at a standpoint or know how to access that information. And I think that part is important. But I'm really here to just work with you and get you to understand what may be going on in your body.
Yes.
To put it in a layman's terms to make it easier, that this is how your body works. This is how it's going to go. This is how it's going to flow. Your gut is a major part of your body.
Yes.
And they never like to talk about that. And they
Yes.
never like to look at that first. Let's look at that and then let's look at the rest and see how the rest goes. Because maybe it starts there. So we're just here to be like a resource. And I think doctors, they have made that position very patriarchal and very much I have a white coat, I know better than you, what I say goes, instead of saying I'm the resource. Let's talk about what we can do for you because what is going to happen for me is going to be very different than what's going to happen for Laura,
Yes.
especially in her environment. Because
Yes.
see, a lot of times when y'all see meds and you're like, oh, well, according to studies, this med works this way, that is in a very controlled environment. That is not an environment where you have these specific plants in your house that may be causing mold. You may have mold in your other mold in your house. You could be using a certain cream or a certain product on your body, and it affects your body in a different way. The trees outside in your neighborhood, the air, the place you work in, all those things are going to play a huge role in your DNA and how your DNA is adapting to all of that. It's going to play a huge role in how that medication or any other supplement is going to work for you.
Yes.
That's why we're having hard times now. And people are like well, I feel like I have to take more. I have to take more of this and that and this, because something has happened at one place and it's just other things that have stacked on top of it that they have not addressed the root thing of it.
Yes. Yeah. And it's like there's these like big general statements that I can make, right? Like there's like general things I can say that most people, like, we need to hydrate better. We need to make sure that we're prioritizing protein. We make sure we're getting enough magnesium. Like, there's just general statements I can make, but what you specifically need, like I always say, it's like there's what you will always need based on your, your body's needs. Then there's what you need today because of whatever the hell's going on. I love that you brought up that, like, your body in New York is going to be different than your body in Texas, is going to be different than your body in Thailand, is going to be different than your body on vacation. It's going to be different than your body at work, right? So there's all these variables that are going to shift your needs. And honestly, I think if we can empower our patients to just like get more autonomy in listening to their bodies and making the decisions in a way that are like makes sense for them and that they can respond to those changes, that is probably the most powerful thing that you could do for your health.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, and y'all think we want a lot from you, but sometimes it's just your gut. Did you bloat? Did you not bloat when you went to Thailand? Did you have any bloating issues?
Right. Yeah.
And that could tell you more than you being here and not having bloating issues. That could tell you that there's a difference in the food, and the food is playing a huge role in certain foods you're going to have to look at. That can tell you a lot of things. The environment was also helpful, most likely. Did you have this? Did you have that? How was your stress? And that's why we say the things that we say a lot of times. Look, we're supposed to be talking about histamine intolerance, but here, hold on, wait. Yeah. Somebody said, does blood type play a hand in the foods we eat? I think, are you talking about the blood type diet, Reagan? If you're talking about something like that.
I have opinions on this question, Reagan. I have opinions on this question.
You devolved such bad. Oh, you said yes, the blood type diet. We'll talk about that. She said she had devolved such bad health anxiety from doctors gaslighting me. I think a lot of people have. I agree with you. A lot of people have.
I get that. I've had freaking issues from gaslighting, right? Like, it's real. It's legitimately real. And look, I want to say this, like, I genuinely believe that most doctors, 99% of doctors, genuinely want to help. They really want to do the right thing. They would help. And doctors have one of the highest, if not the highest, suicide rate of all healthcare professionals.
They trap like us.
They are so stressed, right? Like, they're so stressed and disgruntled with their life. So
they're gaslighting themselves. They're gaslighting themselves.
Well. Yes, because they entered in and they have all these pressures. And at least in the US, like, things are shifting, right? Like, practices are being bought up. Bottom lines are like bottom lines, like they're being treated like machines too. So I want to like send a little empathy their way, that they are sort of in their own box and dealing with their own like BS too. So like that is part of it. And that said, it's not okay to then turn around and treat patients like dismiss patients' concerns or make them feel like they're crazy for trying to get answers and trying to get solutions and make them feel bad for advocating for themselves. That's not okay either.
Yeah. So I don't think they even have the capacity. Some of them don't even have the capacity to go find the solution for you.
No,
I don't think any of them have the capacity,
the resources,
to do
the
that.
time, the energy, they're burnt out too.
And I don't really think that they taught them or taught any of us how to really use our resources well. I don't think they ever taught us they taught doctors how to use pharmacists well, because even the old doctors are like, I don't need you. And I'm like, all right, you're going to call me one day. You're going to call me. You're going to call me one day, and I'm gonna be there.
They
I'm like, I
don't
thought
even
you
know
didn't
how
need
we're
me.
trained. They're shocked sometimes. They're like, wow, you sure know a lot. I was like, pharmacists have a lot of training, y'all. Like, a lot
We
of
have to know
training.
exactly what y'all know. What do you mean?
Yeah. Yes.
We
Yeah.
have to know what y'all know before, in order for that medication to know how it works. We have to know.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so I think there is definitely a disconnect. So to your point, I was just having this conversation earlier today with a physical therapist. And we're talking about like the point at which you have to, as a clinician with a particular specialty, go, I need to tap in another colleague. Like, when do I refer? When do I ask for help? And when do I have to like admit that this is outside of my scope or outside my area of expertise? I think there's a pressure, especially for physicians, to be like, I know the answers. And what I have learned is, one, people respect me a lot more when I say I don't know the answer, but I'm going to help you find a solution, right?
Yeah.
Number one. And number two, people freaking love it when I'm like, I have a friend who knows this subject and I'm going to ask them or I'm going to send you to them. And to me, like, that type of collaboration is really important. But for a lot of physicians, it's admitting that they don't know something or having to send you somewhere else that makes them feel like they failed. And that's just like the way they're trained. That might be their
Also, they
ego.
money. Shit, that was a few $100s out the door.
And that might be the money.
That money. But the
100%.
thing is,
That's
but you got to
real.
know, they have, if they have more loans than me, half of them come out of med school with $500,000 worth of loans.
Yeah, if
These
not
days,
more. If not
these
more.
days, they're
Yeah.
coming out with $500,000
Yeah.
worth of loans, so they ready to do dirty work, whatever they got to do to get that money. And
Yeah.
it seems like you're at the bottom of the list, but it seems like they're just trying to, like, they're swimming and they're trying to survive. And they're doing
It's
some
like
of
if
these
you're
things with
drowning.
United Health. They're drowning and they're doing one of these
Yeah.
little underhanded things with United Health because they struggling. And because the system that America has built has made them also be in the struggle. Doctors aren't what they used to be because
Yes.
of how much school is now.
Yes.
School was cheaper back when my aunt was becoming a doctor. It was still
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah. But you weren't like owing debt for the rest of your life trying to pay it back with compound interest. Like, it's scandalous. Like, it's bad. It's bad. My doctor told me he doesn't believe in testing vitamin. Yeah, that's real. That's a thing.
Yeah, they
Um,
probably don't. Plus, it costs more probably, and they're worried more about the cost, and they wouldn't know what fully to do with that.
that's accurate. They, even if they
They would.
tested it, they often don't know what to do with it. So that's number one. And very often, if I don't know what to do with this, I'm not going to test it. That's very true. Number
Well,
two, a
insurance won't
lot of
cover it, so they won't
doctors,
get
a
paid.
lot of doctors also have to go by a specific list of tests, what they're allowed to run and what they're not allowed to run, and what reasons they have to run it. So if they can't, if it's not an option, or even if it is an option and they don't know how to give a reason for it, they're going to skip it. And third, not only do they not know what to do with it, they don't often appreciate the difference between a optimal level and like a deficiency, meaning that like they're taught that
You're
yeah, it's like this is the wide ass margin and it doesn't matter where in the margin you are. If you're deficient, you will have a disease. You do not have symptoms of a disease, therefore you must not be deficient. And there's no such thing as optimal or a personalized amount or any of that. There's no room for any of that.
yeah.
And that's just the way the system is. Again, this is going back to what we first started saying. Like, the system is set up in such a way that it's very much an algorithm. And you, as a human, I'm assuming you're a human, not an algorithm.
They probably are. Oh yeah. So hold on. So okay. What? So we also have to talk about the blood type.
We got to talk about the blood type. We will come back to histamine. So I'm just going to say this before let's get into the blood type.
We'll get another live in and
If
talk
y'all
about
have
histamine.
histamine questions, and you know what? I'll broaden it. If you have hormone balance questions, histamine questions, allergy type stuff, immune type stuff, put those questions in the chat and we'll come back to it. But yeah, let's talk about the blood type. Can I?
Go ahead, do your thing. I always have an answer because I get this question a lot.
Okay, so I think this was made popular by
Back to
Diadamo.
live.
Yeah,
Back to live
Diadamo.
while you're in here. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're fine. So Diadamo basically came up with this idea that depending on the kind of blood type you have, you're supposed to be eating a certain diet. And it has to do with sort of like evolutionary progression and the way that those blood types evolved over time. I think he's onto something when it comes to the idea that different people from different ancestry and that have almost programming in their DNA because of where they come from will have preferences to one eating pattern versus another. I think there's something to that concept. However, when you like drill into the work, and I had to do this like 10 years ago, I used to work in an office that was like a chiropractor, nutrition, like it was like holistic. And I was a nutritionist in that office, and that chiropractor loved to prescribe the blood type diet. So I had to learn it because I had to help people through it and decide if it was a good match for them or whatever. So I had to like dig deep into this like 10 years ago, and he's still evolving the work. But so as of what I like understood at the time, there's some general guidelines. Like if you're really confused as where to start, it might be a good place for you to start and to decide if it's good for you. However, I've had just as many people tell me they felt awesome following it as I did that people that were like, I don't notice a difference, or I feel like crap, or I miss XYZ and I'm not supposed to eat XYZ. So to me, people who are feeling good on it, I can't tell you is because of the blood type diet or is because they were paying attention to what they're eating now, or and they're like being more proactive. You know what I mean? So it's enough people that didn't benefit that I'm hesitant to say that it's like the be all end all. What I will take away from it is I think it's a good way for you to start thinking a little bit more about how you feel in your body and how you react to certain foods. I think there's something to be said about looking at your ancestry, looking at what your ethnic background is, looking at what your mom and her mom's mom and the mom's moms like were eating and how they like lived their life. I think there's something to that. But I think at the end of the day, to the point we keep coming back to, your body right now in this environment, it doesn't matter if it's programmed to be, and from like the way that people in Russia ate in 1502, it doesn't matter. Your body has to survive this era here. And so we have to treat it and nourish it in a way that makes sense for your body here and now. Does that make sense? Your audio cut out for me. Can you hear me?
I forgot I was on mute. So I muted myself. So So what I basically say, and I would say to a lot of people, the blood type diet, you can use it as a baseline because you want to get on a plane. But a lot of times you're going to need things that aren't in your blood type. Maybe you're not getting enough nutrients. Maybe there's certain things like when it comes to certain things like foods like chickpeas or chicken, maybe that doesn't operate well with your body at this moment. So you're getting yourself in a diet. Maybe your body doesn't operate well with bunch of protein or a bunch of meat. And that is the diet that it says based off your blood type for it. Yeah. And so a lot of times it doesn't allow you need to be flexible. I never give anybody, you have to be on this exact diet. What is your body doing to? Because you need to make sure to feed it, especially in America where there's always something new. There's always something changing in our food. There's always something going on. You can have there's a carnivore diet. You need some vegetables at some point.
Yes.
You're going to need some vegetables at some point because there's certain nutrients in vegetables that grass that a cow is eating is not going to be enough. Yes. So I want y'all to be flexible and don't get stuck on one diet. Yes, a blood type diet can be a good baseline for you to learn how to change your eating, but start looking for foods that really work with you, and it may not fall into any exact diet, and you have to learn to be flexible.
For example, you might be like, I want to eat more plants, and I agree. Both from my experience and from the research, I could tell you that you should be eating more beans, legumes, nuts, seeds, etc. You might have a GI issue right now that every time you have beans, your stomach gets bloated, you don't feel good, you might have SIBO, you might have IBS, you might have some sort of bacterial overgrowth, undergrowth that doesn't make that work for you. What are you going to do? Not eat? Because you're supposed to only be eating beans and legumes, right? So you have to make that adjustment. Flip side, you might be somebody that's supposed to be eating primarily meat. I see somebody saying type O. Type O is supposed to be closer to carnivore paleo, right? Yeah. According to the blood type diet. What if you have low digestive enzymes and you don't have a strong enough stomach acid? You're going to feel like trash every time that you eat a lot of meat, right? So if you don't address your digestion first and you don't address your gut health first, it's not going to work for you. So at the end of the day, even if you feel like that pattern, you really gravitate towards that pattern, there might be periods in time where you need to do something a little bit more therapeutic or a little bit more deliberate to address your health. And I think great point that you're bringing up, Renata, is like, this might help you realize, hey, this part of my digestion isn't working, or I keep getting this reaction from this food. This is where I think that really helps you sort of pay attention to your body. I think that's the most valuable takeaway, in my opinion. But to tell me that there's only 4 ways of eating because there's only 4 blood, that's ridiculous.
Isn't there 5 though? Is it? Hold on, it's A. No, it's A, B, C. Why am I saying C? A, B,
A, B, and O. And they do have subcategories, and Dadamo's like been doing more research on this. And like, to me, it's like, well, yeah, if there's more categories, that means it's not that simple.
Exactly. That it can't be that simple. Somebody said, I have been iron and vitamin D deficient and have severe anxiety. Been on supplements and not improving. It depends on what supplements you are on, and there could be something else deeper with your gut that needs to be healed. There could also be parasite activity.
Could be. I'll give you a story. I'm gonna give you a story.
Even bacteria, even like your bacteria, like the bacteria in your gut bacteria could be even lower, and that could be causing any parasite activity or causing any other activity that makes those deficiencies.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I had a patient, chronic anemia. Okay. Chronic anemia, years. I'm talking like a decade. The anemia was so bad. Her brain fog was so bad. She literally had to quit her job at one point. She was an executive. Then she literally had to quit her job because she kept messing up at work. And like, she's like, I take iron, I do this, I do that, nothing's helping. You know what the problem was?
What?
She had an infection of a, shoot, I'm blanking on the name of the thing. It wasn't an E. coli, but she had an infection in her gut, essentially. When
Candida?
That infection. What's that?
Candida, or just like
no,
just regular bacterial?
She had this low-lying bacterial infection in her gut.
Like a SIBO kind of infection kind of thing?
It wasn't SIBO. It was like Giardia. She had a
okay. That wasn't in Giardia.
No, it wasn't Giardia. Hold on. I have to go look it up. But she had this infection. Once we cleared the infection, her iron, like she had to stop her iron supplements immediately because her iron shot up so high, it was actually too high. That's how quickly it adjusted. So to your point, the way that I cannot emphasize this enough, the way that your gut bacteria and your digestive system functions is the most important factor to determine how any supplement, how any nutrient, how any food is going to affect your body. So if we don't also address that, the supplement on its own may not be enough, or eventually will stop working. Like it might work at first, it'll eventually stop.
There's something else in the way. And it could also be sometimes you have supplementation, but you don't have the right combination of supplementation. Because yes, we're taking iron, but do we have enough B12? What is our B12 in our system looking like? Do we have anything, any more like any of the other things? Calcium or vitamin C that needs to go with it in order to help it absorb better? There's a lot of other things on the pathway that are needed in order to help iron absorb better, or in order for iron to be working. Yes, was diagnosed with gastritis. Well, that's also probably a pretty big part.
It was E. coli. It was a Shigella toxin.
Oh, yeah. And
a lot more, so low grade. It was,
and a lot of people are. Excuse me. A lot of more people are having bacterial overgrowth or bacterial issues in their gut. Point blank. Period.
Yes.
Agreed. I recommend. Somebody said I recommend. Do you recommend sea moss? I do. It depends on what you're using it for and what you need it for and what's really going on. Because some people are taking sea moss and it may not be as effective because there may be something else going on. Just starting sea moss may not be your best bet.
There, in my opinion, a very small number of you should be taking this, like general blanket statement. Every other time you ask me or anybody asks me, should I take this? Should I be taking? Should I take glutamine? Should I take berberine? Should I take sea moss? It depends. What else? Why? First, why? Why are we taking it? And do you need it? And to your point, like perfectly said, like what else is going on that might be a bigger priority?
Because sea moss may not be able to fix it, or it may not be enough. So we have to like really look at so when we talk about supplements, we're not just saying, here, take this. We're talking about, you have SIBO and H. pylori as well. Oh, girl. Oh,
Ooh,
girl, your
that's
gut.
complicated. I'm sorry. Yeah,
That's a combination.
we
That's
gotta
a
give
gut.
that gut some love.
That's a combination. I wonder if somebody's giving you any because H. pylori, especially H. pylori, has been resistant, but especially nowadays, I it's been more and more resistant. It used to
Yes.
be back in the day, the protocol is 2 weeks, and people could get it out in 2 weeks. Because
Those
I remember
packets.
my brother had it.
Yeah.
My brother had it, but now it's like months. Some people are
Yeah.
taking months to get over it, and don't have a autoimmune disease. It could be somebody. It took 6 months to get rid of it. She had
Yes.
what does she also have? I don't even know. What did she have? Not hyperemesis gravidum, hypothyroidism, but what's the other one? I don't even know why it's drawing a blank right now.
Graves,
Not Graves. What's the other one?
Hashimoto's.
Hashimoto's. I was going to say almost everybody got. Well, a lot of people who come to the store. It seems like almost a lot of women have Hashimoto's, and so
Yes.
yes, they
The
had
number
Hashimoto's,
one cause of thyroid disease.
and one of the and a big in a and stress is a big reason. Stress in relationships is a big reason a lot of people again are having
Yes.
Hashimoto's. But yeah, that it took her a very long time to get rid of it.
Yes.
They tried to
Uh,
do a naturopathic way, and I was like, girl, no, you're gonna have to attack it
and
hard.
listen, if you have an autoimmune disease, what does that mean? It means your immune system is like
Suppressed.
misaligned, right?
Yes.
So how are you going to get rid of an infection? Because you need your immune system to get rid of that infection. The reason that part of the reason it's sitting there thinking like I don't need to go anywhere is because your immune system lets it. Does that make sense? So before you can even clear that, you have to make sure that your immune system is balanced, right? And is
Yeah.
nourished. And before you could do that, you got to make sure that you're got all the nutrients you need, like all the fuel that you need to nourish it, that your mitochondria, your energy factories can afford to pay that bill, right?
Yes.
So all of these factors go hand in hand. So it doesn't surprise me because I see that a lot, like especially SIBO, and H. pylori. I see that so much, and it's refractory. Partly because we have a lot of antibiotic resistance, that's part of it. Partly because there's all these other factors in the background that are making it harder for our body to actually fight those infections off.
Yeah. The food that we're dealing with, our environment.
Our stress.
Ooh, yeah. You know me. Stress. Stress gonna kill everything.
There was one in here that was hormone related, and so we should
She
address
was.
it.
Let me see. Where's the one that was hormone related? I think the girl. I wonder if the girl's still here. Let's see.
Yeah, let us know if you're still here. I think it was like a estrogen adrenal fatigue person. Let us know if
Yeah,
you're
she
still.
has. Wasn't it? She had like hyperthyroid. Oh, wait. She had hypothyroidism. I think it was 617-704. Let me see. Also, if you're following me, go ahead and follow Laura because she also gives some great advice and information on her page.
Come, let's be friends.
Let's see, what was her name? She said something
Oh wait, I
because
think
I
I
remember it was like a whole
yeah,
combination of things.
hypothyroidism, low estrogen, post
Yep.
menopause, and adrenal fatigue.
Yeah,
Not getting
post or
much.
peri. Okay, post. Was it
Yeah.
postmenopausal or peri?
She said post. Hey, it's you. Hi. Um, okay, so is it post menopause? Let's just be clear. Because
Let me
that is a
see.
different story. The adrenal fatigue part is so real. I'm curious if it was like related to okay, post. I'm curious if it was related to menopause or if it was like ongoing before, because that's slightly different, if that makes sense. I have those symptoms as well. And then hypothyroidism, is it autoimmune or is it primary?
Say, hold on. Were you? Oh, you're talking to her.
Yeah.
Girl.
Yeah. Trying to get more info, you know?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people have hypothyroidism, and there was like this trend. Trend is not the right word, but let's go with it.
It was.
Where
I know what you mean.
they wouldn't screen for autoimmune disease. So like a lot of endos won't screen for autoimmune to like tell you specifically if you're hyper or hypothyroid because you have Hashimoto's or Graves, because they're like, well, we're going to treat it the same way regardless. We're just going to keep giving you levothyroxine and just wait for your thyroid to like putz out. And I vehemently disagree. Number one, you have to understand if you have an autoimmune condition, because as soon as you develop one, you're at higher risk of developing more. So that's important, I think. And number two, the way you address autoimmune disease is going to be slightly different in the way that you address hypothyroidism, because one is a disease of the thyroid and the other is a disease of the immune system.
Yep.
And although they share a target, which is the thyroid, it's not the same, right? One, you have to have a much higher emphasis on nourishing the immune system and balancing the immune system. And the other, you have to nourish the thyroid, the adrenal, and the pituitary. So it's like one's like hormones and one's immune. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you saw that too, but I used to like literally have to send letters to people's doctors to be like, why won't you run antibody tests for these people? Like, I don't understand.
I would sometimes make people go get the test.
Well, yeah.
But like
yeah.
in other ways, like we're not gonna fight your doctor.
Well, it's not fair that they have to pay for it out of pocket. Like
it's not. It isn't. Well, it's not. Well, it's not that they have to. It was.
You said hypothyroidism and Sjogren's. Have you been screened for Hashimoto's? Because Sjogren's and Hashimoto's are often linked together. So I'm curious who said that. If you've been screened for that. So. Yeah. Not sure the source. They say it's not Hashimoto's. Okay. Well, yeah. That means maybe they screened it. So that's good. Okay. They ran the antibodies.
Oh man, I'm bad at it.
It's because your body's still recovering. It took me, I'm telling you, when I got sick, when I got my like mega zombie virus, which was, I kept coming up negative for COVID, but I just was not recovering. It took me like a good 10 days before I could like say a sentence without coughing. So I don't know what.
I've been talking a lot. I was like, oh,
I've been talking a lot. So, let's let your throat.
No. You're all good. You're all good.
Hold on. So many comments. I love it. Hi, everybody. Trying to stay on task here. Yeah.
But not sure if it was
so that's good. I would recommend periodically screening. So I tell my thyroid people, just keep getting screened for Hashimoto's, because those antibodies can go up and down depending on if you're in a flare or not. Yeah. So your thyroid level is not going to necessarily reflect your autoimmune status, if that makes sense. Because your thyroid level, once there's an issue with producing the thyroid hormone, it's just gonna like stay where it's at. But your immune flare could create more damage to that process. So I usually tell people, do a full thyroid panel. And when I say full thyroid panel, I don't mean just TSH and T4. I want to see a free T4 and a total T4, a T3 and a free T3. And I want to see a reverse T3, which is the one that goes up when your stress is elevated, speaking of adrenal. Yep. And I also want to see antibodies at least once a year. So I usually tell, if we're monitoring your thyroid twice a year, I want that full panel, and at least once a year, I want to see those antibodies too. If your Hashimoto's or Graves', we need those antibodies always, because I want to make sure that I bring those numbers down, and it is possible to bring those antibody numbers down too. Yeah. And we really I like to see a CRP or HSCRP and an ESR too, which is an inflammation marker.
So she also said her adrenals. I didn't go back and read. Girl, I was stuck. And you also said your adrenals. That's what I'm saying. She also said her adrenals, because she has so much going on. Because she said she was worried about her adrenals.
Have you ever done a cortisol test that looks at your cortisol over the course of the day? Something like a Dutch
That's
test.
what I was wondering. Making sure she does the cortisol test.
Yeah. That's really, really helpful. And I'm curious, when you say adrenal, like what do you mean, like low adrenal function?
That's what I want to know.
Stress. Yeah. Tell us more. Thyroid nodules, question mark. What about them?
Yeah. Somebody also talked about hyperthyroidism and Sjogren's. You got them both together?
Yes.
Ooh. That's a lot.
Yes, I'm adding this to my doctor appointment questions. Yes. I actually, for the thyroid people, if you go in the link in my bio, you should be able to find a download. If you have trouble, DM me or something, but you should be able to find a download for my like cheat sheet that you take to your doctor. So it's all the tests I just mentioned, plus all the nutrition type tests that are related to thyroid function and talking points about them. That way you can actually go and ask, and we're like, why you want to know that? You'd be like, because this is why this is important. So it's a free download that you can get. Just, yeah, let me know if you have trouble finding it. Please record these and go back to listen. Aw, that's sweet. What causes them? Well, causes nodules. So nodules happen when you basically think of it this way. It's like the hormone's knocking at the door and it's not answering, and it's almost like a bruise that happens because of that overstimulation. And the nodules will usually happen if you have either hyperthyroidism that's not addressed, or hypothyroidism where you're using too much levothyroxine as a treatment. A big issue here, and I think a lot of people don't talk about, is thyroid resistance, meaning that your receptor is not actually answering the call when the door is being knocked. And so that the lack of response to the thyroid, that poor answer, creates a higher risk to develop nodules. And so that's why we have to screen for nodules in people who have hypothyroidism.
Yeah.
It can be dangerous. They can turn malignant. So we do want to
Herb Gotti said, download Laura's stuff now before TikTok ain't talking no more, which I don't think that's going to happen. But I was also answering questions in the chat, so.
Yes, I love it. I love it. I like how, like, you'll start answering questions, I go off on a rant, and then I'm reading comments, and you're going off on yours.
You said your cortisol is causing insomnia. So do you have high cortisol? That's another thing that I was asking about, because I know you talked about hormone tests.
Low cortisol can cause insomnia, too.
It can.
Yeah.
And you may need an adrenal, or a lot of times ancestral, like, what is it? They use adrenals of pig.
Yes,
a lot of times.
And those
that
are
works better. Their organs.
Yeah, absolutely. I think my one biggest pet peeve that I see on this app is people talking about high cortisol all the time. They're like, high cortisol is ruining your life. Your life is horrible because but no, it's actually
low cortisol is ruining your life, really.
Both
of them can. High cortisol is more everyday people. It's very rare that a lot of people don't have as much low cortisol as people who are experiencing high cortisol in the moment. High cortisol is just a hot topic because a lot of people are stressed.
Yes, and it's true. The majority of people probably have high cortisol, and you kind of go through high cortisol before you go to low cortisol. Like, that's like kind of end stage, like, things are real bad. Like, resources have been depleted. We're done.
We can't do nothing no more. I'm not putting anything out. I'm not doing nothing for you. You're going to have to give me something, because I don't have enough. That's basically what it's telling me.
Go take a break, take a nap, and then maybe we'll have a conversation about me making more cortisol. But right now, no, this is not happening. Yeah. I believe it's high cortisol, but taking adrenal supplements morning and night. So I'm assuming you mean like adaptogen adrenal supplement, ashwagandha, cordyceps, those kinds of things. By the way, I'm such a big fan of ashwagandha. Remember I said before, like, there's a handful of supplements that if you ask me, should I be taking them? I'm probably going to say yes, but most supplements, I'm like, it depends. Ashwagandha is on my, yes, ashwagandha. Like, put that shit in the water. Ashwagandha.
Ashwagandha, but I bet you Herb Gotti will get on here and say Shisandra. No, he'll say Shisandra just because it's better for the estrogen in women, and ashwagandha is going to build up a little bit more testosterone. Sometimes we need it still, but yeah, but they're still kind of both on the same thing. They're still kind of both on the same thing and on the same line.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Look, and I say ashwagandha mostly because most people don't have Herb Gotti's like in their backyard to go get a custom formula.
But you can find Shisandra, and you can find Shisandra at even at a Whole Foods. You can find it.
You sure can. The only reason
but ashwagandha is easier for people to grasp onto because it's there and because it's been told to us. Shisandra, you're gonna be like, how do you spell that? What does it look like?
It's easier, and people who have wacky immune systems or wacky guts, I don't try to play because different herbs can impact them different ways, and this is where it gets prescriptive. But 98%, I'm making up that number by the way, 98% of people that take ashwagandha don't have an issue with it. And
No,
that's why I feel
no.
so confident. I'm like, yeah, vitamin D, sure. Magnesium, sure. Ashwagandha, sure. Everything else, it
Mm.
depends.
And maca root, Reagan just said something about maca root. You got to be careful, especially if you're having hormone issues with maca root, because maca root can play in that, and it may not be helpful for people that are having like fibroids, that are having like cervical tumors or anything like that, and you don't know about it. Be careful with stuff like maca root.
Yeah. Be careful. I do think it's a good one. It's up there. My personal favorite is a brand called Symphony.
Hmm.
That makes 3 different kinds of maca root. This is how it gets like, because you go to the store, it's like
Yeah.
maca is maca. It's not. There's different strains of maca,
Yes.
and I like them because they make it easy to sort of figure out which one works for you, whether you're menopausal, perimenopausal, regular, like normal, like, just for maintenance, blah, blah, blah. So I like them, but kind of the takeaway is, to your point, you got to be careful and you got to pick what's right for you.
Oh, okay, so the one you're taking for your so you definitely have a cortisol issue if they're giving you ashwagandha, rhodiola, and some cordyceps in there. I
Yes.
wonder also how is your magnesium levels when it comes to that as well with the cortisol? Are they giving you any of that? What do your
Vitamin
vitamin
C.
D levels look like?
Vitamin C. You need vitamin C.
Yes, most definitely.
Yep. Yep.
But some of the cordyceps, depending on what the cordyceps are, might have that vitamin C in it, but maybe not enough still. But you might need more vitamin C. I think I might be iodine deficient because I
I would be
don't
careful with
have
iodine if you have
iodized salt, and I
I
have
would
benign nodules.
I'd be careful with iodine. Too much iodine
Period.
would actually stimulate more nodule development, so I wouldn't play with that.
Yeah. And I don't know what your levels are at or what everything else is going on. So I can't tell you nothing. I'm not gonna
Yes.
tell you nothing. You're not gonna put it on me when it happens, okay?
Yes.
You're not gonna put
Yes.
it on either of us. I would
Disclaimer. This is
I would have
not
to know
medical advice.
I would have to know more. We just know from comic books. We're gonna take a page out of Herb Gotti. We just know stuff from comic books
Yes. Yes.
that
Yes.
do have that do have studies in them. But I can't tell you to take that you might be iodine deficient and you have benign nodules. I can't take you that because it may stimulate them and they may not be benign anymore. They may become a little bit more malignant. And I don't want to do that anymore because I
Yes.
don't know exactly what's fully going on in your body. And I don't know what your levels are and you may not either. Because a lot of times when they do that, those benign nodules, they'll try to knock them off. But it all depends on what else is going on in your body that in order for them to do that.
Oh yeah, everybody. Yup. Yep. Magnesium or D is not tested. Obviously,
Mm,
I'm gonna say you got to get an RBC magnesium, red blood cell
yep.
magnesium, not just a regular magnesium, because that's not. That's only going to tell you like if you're very, 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 very deficient in magnesium. It's not going to tell you if you are
If it's in the
a
cell or
little.
not.
Yeah,
If
exactly.
it's
So
you being utilized in the proper way, because a
exactly.
lot of times they're just taking tests of like, oh, you have so much in your blood, or you have so much. Is it in the cell? That's where I need to know. Is it going to the right place?
Correct. So RBC magnesium is going to be better at that. That's number one. Number two, vitamin D. A lot of hospital systems or insurances aren't paying for vitamin D. I don't understand the logic behind that because that's
That's weird.
so stupid. It's so weird. But at least annually, a vitamin D. In a perfect world, I love people to get it twice. And if like I have to pick, I want them to get it in late winter and early spring and then in the fall because that's when you are going to have both the lowest and the potentially highest, and then I like to adjust the vitamin D dose to fit that. But if you can only get it once a year, then just at least get it once, ideally again when it's going to be the lowest, winter spring, and then adjust your dose if you're going to be more exposed to the sun. Where you live in the country makes a difference because the sun is going to hit you different, and the tone of your skin is going to make a difference. So
Yeah,
darker
and
the
they
darker the skin color is, the less you're going to be able to get vitamin D from the sun, and the more you're going to have to be
and
consistent.
also for us, I've seen even in some studies where it's okay to take 2,500 to 5,000 a day.
Mhm.
That's a low dose. It's nothing too crazy. Your
Yes.
body's gonna get rid of a lot of that, especially if you don't have a lot of fat and it's
Yes.
not depoting blood so much. But
Yes.
yeah, if your
Still not
liver's
going to
pretty
do that.
good,
Yeah.
2,500 to 5 grand, 5,000. I'm saying 5 grand. Like you, well, it is. You got to pay. And 5,000, those will be pretty safe if you need just a little vitamin D, and they're not really doing testing. Those
Yes.
will keep you at a pretty safe. I've
And
given my
maybe
body
like
something.
5,000 in the winter, 2,500 in the summer, 2 to 3,000 in the summer. That's a good kind of general
Yeah.
strategy. Or if you tend to run low, or if you have darker skin, then, or you wear like covering, or you're in the northeast of the United States, go with 5,000 year round. I feel comfortable with that. And the studies show you won't go too high with that. But again, ideally get your blood tested. And I feel like I have to say this because I don't think people realize this, but you can go get your own labs, right?
And that's what I say. I tell people that there's actually a cheaper one where you can get your own vitamin labs. And it may be like $99 or less. It could be 75. Even vitamin companies like Thorne will do it. Even Viome, they'll do ones where you send it out and they'll basically send it right back to you and get you
And
the
there's a
test and
couple
get
of
you the test
states where
results.
you can't. There are a couple of states where you can't. New York, Rhode Island, and New Jersey's weird about it. But there are now new
Yeah.
services that override some of
You
those.
can do
Like,
that and go get the test that you want yourself. Texas, you
yeah,
can definitely do it. Go to
yeah,
Quest, go whatever, and you can
yes.
pay it. There's some that'll even work with you. Okay, we'll get a test. I can't remember if it's Quest Labs where they have like things
Mhm.
where you can just pay
Yes,
payments and get those tests, get basic
yes.
tests that you need.
And it's not as, and it doesn't have to be as expensive as you might be
No,
worried that it is. That bill that you get from your insurance because of labs is not how much it costs to get
touch
it on
her,
your.
touch
Yeah.
her face. If you touch her face and then touch her face again, you'll be able to get her and follow her. So touch her face and you can
Yeah,
follow her.
follow me. Hi, friend. Yeah, so I think that's really important. I just did my own testing. Actually, this is not an ad for them, but I do like them. I use a company called Function Health. Um,
Okay, that's another one. Yeah.
yeah, I actually really like it because it's very extensive. So if you feel like you don't know where to start or what to pick, something like that might be really helpful because it was a $500 membership, which is a little steep, but I got 112 markers, like different lab, like it's very extensive and very thorough. And then I get a second draw so
Okay.
I could see how well like the numbers adjusted. So
Oh, well,
something
then
that I
actually,
do
that's
very often,
not
and there's a
too
little
bad.
guidance in there for people too.
That's
It's not
not too
bad at
bad if
all.
it's $500 and you're getting two lab tests. And how extensive is it? Are you getting like your inflammation markers? Are you getting
Girl,
like
everything. Uh,
vitamins, mineral, like what else?
Vitamins, minerals, vitamin D, plus inflammatory markers, plus autoimmune markers,
Oh,
plus a advanced cardiovascular panel. So not just like LDL, HDL, it's like LDL particle size and all that, LP
okay.
little a, like all those markers, insulin, leptin, like all
Ooh,
those. Yeah.
ooh,
Sex hormones, so estrogen,
yeah.
progesterone, da 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 da,
Ah,
and
that's cheap
biological
to
age.
me.
And biological age by itself, if you go to an independent company and just do biological age, is like $300.
Yeah. Now I got a question. What do they do with your information? That's the thing people are worried about. What do they do with your
I
information? Do
don't
you have to
know.
click something? Did you read the small print?
I did not. I did not. But you know what? I am okay being the guinea pig for this.
That's fine.
Let's see what
No, no, no.
happens.
Send me
Yeah.
send me the link. I'll even talk about it because
Okay.
that's something I would try to do. I would try because I like that,
I thought it was great.
and I would like to
The
do
thing
that for
was
patients. Just
you just go to
period.
a quest to do the lab work. It's super simple. Like the platform's really easy to use. You can see your results. They have really nice. I'm very picky with the explainers. I'm usually
Yeah.
very critical. I actually really appreciated the explainers, and then they have a physician review the results and give you a little bit of a breakdown. Now, I still suggest if there's something wrong, you should probably still be working with your doctor on this stuff.
But that's
However,
a
such a great starting point, right? To
nice
empower
yearly
yourself.
thing, or yeah, to empower yourself to say these are the markers I need. These are the markers I need to see what my baseline is at. So if I go to a doctor who's not going, especially the way insurance is acting right now, oh, we're not going to do this test. We're not going to do that. Go do
Yes.
your baseline for yourself to see where you're at this point. Even if you're sick, go see what that baseline is there to see what you need to work on or what needs to happen.
It's called Function Health. And if you DM me, I'll send you the
You
link
said
for it.
function of health.
Function Health. 2 words,
Oh, just
function
function
and then
health.
health. Yes, Function Health. Yeah.
Function health. Okay, gotcha. $500 for an email results.
It's
I
not
need
even
to.
an email result. It's like a platform and you log in and you got to like look at each one. I think you can request it in PDF. I haven't tried yet, but I think you can request it as like a PDF. And
Oh,
then you
so it's just in an app and it just explains all, but it probably explains and breaks down all your results in layman's terms.
It's, I think a good explanation, but I'm biased. So if somebody else has done it and you're like, I don't like the way they explained it, let me know. But I thought like, because I see a lot of these types of companies and I like worked with a lot of these companies and I think they did a good job. And I don't work for them, I promise.
I believe you. I believe you. I never thought you did. I'm over here working. So no, but I never thought you did. I'm working and I'm doing the labs. I did. This is what I do.
Yeah, no, and I needed labs and it's easier to, I think I'd rather pay for the labs and know that I'm getting exactly what I'm not haggling back and forth, that they get insurance can pay. Am I going to get hit with a bill? Is my doctor going to say, okay? I'd rather go get it myself. And I have the luxury of being able to do that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think it's really annoying that we have to like jump through all
Yeah.
these hoops. I'm
Too many
sorry.
hoops. And it's that's why some people are like, I don't want to do it. So that's why some people are like, oh, I don't want to do it. I don't want to this, that, and this. I don't feel like going to my doctor because of the hoops that you have to jump through. And don't let us be a different color. It's extra hoops. They're like, you don't know anything. And it's like,
Yes.
I'm a
Yes.
doctor too.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
How you
Or
trying to tell me this?
they
I'm a
look at you
doctor
side
too.
eyed. So I went to the doctor. I went for, I think I needed like I had stitches or something. Like I hurt myself or something. So I went to an urgent care thing. It was like a small thing. It wasn't anything major. But I was like, since I'm here, can you go ahead and just like check because they had to run blood work to make sure I didn't have an infection and stuff like that. So I was like, while you're at it, can you just throw me like a vitamin D on there? It's been a minute. Like I'd love to see. I think I asked for vitamin D and like something else or whatever. I was like, since I'm here. And he's like, yeah, sure, whatever, blah, blah, blah. A few days later, I come back. I ended up seeing the same doctor. And he's like, oh, your vitamin D looks good. It's like 30. I was like, agree to disagree. And I've learned not to say too much. Like my mouth can get me in trouble. I don't say too much. And I was just like, agree to disagree.
Okay, sure.
What do you mean? It's like, it's within range. And I was like, I literally looked at him. I was like, do you want the actual spiel? Because I literally teach on this. Like, this is literally, I'm an adjunct professor and I teach on this. So do you actually want the spiel? And he's like, go, like timid, like, what am I getting myself into?
I don't know why they just underestimate pharmacists so much. I don't know why. They're in their own. I'm like, y'all just really gonna play me? You think I'm stupid?
I went easy on him. I wasn't too rude, but he definitely looked at me skeptical. He still didn't believe me. And I present very white, so that was not the issue. He just didn't want me.
You do present very white, but it's okay. I know you're not. So you're able to get away with things that you still can't get away.
They're
like, she's doing the quack. She's the quack. She's saying crazy stuff. Like, look, welcome to my world. I'm being this color, I was a quack already, but I'm double quacked because of how I talk about nutrition and how I talk about health. And I'd be like, you don't really have to do all that.
Yes. And I'm a girl. So it's like, oh, she can't possibly know what she's talking about. Like, there's that whole thing. So
there is no going to be an exact number because there isn't. And that's the thing that we played each other. To say that there's an exact number for for every person, we're not going to know. To know what's optimal for you, it is going to be different for each body and how your body is functioning. And if your body's functioning at its best, to know what that number of vitamin D would look like for you.
I'll give you a general, that great point and great like disclaimer. I shoot for, like, as a general public health, everybody should be at least 40, if not
40.
higher.
I'm about to say 45.
At least 40, if not higher. The research, they did a lot of research on vitamin D and viral infections in the last 5 years. I wonder why. And 50 seems to be a consistent cutoff point in most of the research, that you have to have at least 50 or higher, one, to have improved outcomes from infections, or to have improved outcomes from vaccination. So even if you're getting a vaccine, the level of vitamin D can dictate how effective that vaccine is going to be for you. I can make an argument that that's probably because your immune system is more robust, but I'm just telling you what the research says. And then if I've got a patient who's got an autoimmune disease, who's got diabetes or pre-diabetes, for dealing PCOS, that kind of stuff, I might shoot for 60, 70, or 80. I never shoot over 80. If it goes up to 80, 90, I'm not like freaked out over it, but I'm not like shooting for that. And I've heard other clinicians be like, oh, it's got to be like 80 or no, that's not evidence-based and not true for everybody.
Yeah. So let's see. What did he say? Here goes Herb Gotti. Isn't there an anti-cancer bacteria that depends on vitamin D in order to function? It's killing my brain. I'm gonna look it up. Watch, he'll be
Please
back
look it up
here
and please
and
tell
he'll
me
be
what
in the
that
chat
is because
because
I
I
am
want to
now
know
so curious. Yes.
because he's gonna know. He's gonna
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
gonna find out. He remembers it somewhere. He read it in the comic book.
Yeah.
So how do we improve our immune system? Diet.
Question.
It's going to be so much. There are so many things. It's not one thing that's going to
It
improve
depends
your
on
immune system
you.
automatically. And it
And it
depends
depends.
on you and what you're doing and what you're not doing. Dealing
Yeah.
with stress. And if you are dealing with stress, how do you support yourself in that stress?
Yes.
A lot of things that are supportive in stress. Magnesium has been supportive in stress. Your B vitamins have been supportive in stress and different things. Are you
Yes.
eating those things?
Vitamin
How,
C.
what, exactly, vitamin C. What is your sleep routine? Vitamin D, like we've also talked about. What are those? Are we looking at those levels and that level for you? How is that working? There
Yeah.
are also so many factors in sometimes are you in the right job? Are you in the right relationship that's affecting your immune system? How are you reacting? What kind of family did you come from? I came from a reactive family.
Right.
So, how are you reacting to life? Are you giving life all of your energy or are you giving it to everyone in every place instead of to yourself? What are
You know
you
how to
putting
say
out
no?
there? That's what I'm saying. Are you trying to prove and do all these things? Because a lot of those things are a big part in your immune health and your immune support. What does your gut look like? Do you
Yes.
know? Do
Yes.
you know what is your gut reacts to or it doesn't react to? Have you looked at those things? Because there's food plays a huge part in our
Are you
body. You got something to
sleeping?
say? Like you
Are
holding
you
on to it so hard.
sleeping? Are you
Are
getting
you
the
sleeping?
right amount of sleep? Are you
Hydration.
recovering while you're Are you hydrating? So those are all big, big, big foundations. But I want to bring us into like practical. Vitamin D is a big one. So getting your vitamin D under control is a big one in terms of immune function. And I want to be also careful to say, I never say strengthening your immune system or boosting your immune system. We don't
No.
need boosting. We don't need boosting. We need balancing. Your immune system is a very fine-tuned instrument. It only
Mm.
boosts when there's a problem. And when the problem doesn't stop or go away, all the things Renata just said, like all that whole long list, if those problems are there, it will continue to be too boosted. And most people's issues, modern day immune systems, are over boosted and they're reacting to the wrong trigger,
Yep.
right?
That's why we
So
have
when we say
autoimmune or
boost,
immune attacking because
correct.
we've pushed our immune into a way where it's attacking us, but it's not so much attacking; it's just reacting. It's like
Yes.
too much, too
Too much,
much,
too
too
much. And I don't
much.
know how
That's
to turn
basically what
this off, right? So
too
it's like,
much. It's just
yes,
like
yes,
it's
yes,
freaking out. It's stressed. Your immune
yes,
system is stressed.
yes, 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 which is again going kind of, we talked about this earlier. It's like that histamine response is that canary in the coal mine because it is overreacting to something. So we need to neutralize it. And then we need to redirect its focus on the right stuff so that you're not getting sick constantly. You know what I mean? So I think that's a big part of it. So that said, I talk about balancing. We talk about like ashwagandha, sandra, like all those things, cordyceps, all those things. You have to address the adrenal part in order to address the immune system. You got to get your hormones under control. If your insulin is dysregulated, if you have insulin resistance, if you are pre-diabetic, diabetic, all that is going to play into your immune function. If your thyroid is not under control, if we can't get it regulated, that doesn't mean like that you're okay. You could be taking your thyroid medicine every day, but is it doing what it's supposed to do? Is your body actually responding to that thyroid medication the right way? Is it activating it?
Does it have the
That's
support that is needed to go with that thyroid function? Because it's not just the medicine that's needed, but it's also going to be, again, things like selenium are also needed in that thyroid function and different things like that. Do you have those?
your omega-3 balance, omega-6 to omega-3 balance, right? We
Yes.
have a lot of, and I do not want to get into seed oils because that is,
Trader Joe's, welcome. Thank you. We love you, but still,
but
you making it tough on us.
oh my God, it's such a nuanced conversation. And also, there's so many valid points on both sides of that conversation. But at the end of the day, hyper processing foods and hyper processing polyunsaturated fats, PUFA fats, which is what omega-3s are, omega-6s are, can contribute to more inflammation and an imbalance in your omega-6 to omega-3 profile. And when you have an imbalance in those fats, so your fish oils, for example, versus your seed oils, then you can see more inflammation. So a real quick way to sort of like say, making sure that you're getting the right balance of those anti-inflammatory fats and
Mhm.
that profile makes sense for your immune system. That plays a big role. Magnesium plays a big role in like everything. What else? What else?
Vitamin B plays a big role. The complex, the full complex, because the
All of
complex
them.
B5 is going to help with your adrenals. B6 is going to help with your gut as well as your nervous system. That vagus nerve somebody was talking about, that's
Yes.
also in your gut. It's going to
Yes.
help with all those responses. A lot of that inflammation that's also going on in your nervous system. B12 helps with your blood and helping to process and making new. There, just get a B
It's
complex,
B.
okay? Leave me
It's
alone.
B
Just get a
because
B
you need
complex.
it to be. Like you
Yes,
need
and you
these
need the
to
whole
be.
complex. You don't need part of it. You need the whole complex because if you have one, after a while, that one is not going to work because you need the rest of them.
Yes.
Um,
And then
but
there's going to be exception again. I keep coming up with these nuances. There's going to be exceptions where people need a little more B12 or a little bit more
yeah, most
folate.
definitely. Or
But generally
B5 or
speaking,
B6,
they need to be in
B complex.
balance. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and then a vitamin C. You need vitamin C right now. That's why I deal within a store, and a lot of times this grocery store, the way they do their like the way they promote their seasons, they almost promote it. Of course, seasonal fruit will tell you what's going on and what
That's
you
a
need in that
great
time.
point. Yes.
Your fruit and what's hot in that era, that time, like pumpkin seeds and different things like that. And dandelion were hot during fall. Dandelion leaves, those were helping to detox you during this from the summer. Now you need citrus. It's going to help with a lot of the colds and different things that are going on right now. That citrus, that vitamin C is necessary. And a lot of times people are missing that vitamin C. Vitamin C is also necessary in waist circumference. A lot of y'all want to talk about weight loss and we think, let's eliminate things. No, you need to add more things. A lot of times minerals are taking that place in our immune system and our total health, period. So vitamin C is also a good one. What else
It
was
is
you?
complicated. I saw this question a couple of times. D with K2. I usually do recommend vitamin D with K2 in
Oh, I do too.
combination. There are exceptions. There's like
Always an exception.
yeah, like my aunt's doctor is nervous about her K2 taking K2, so I'll skip it with her, but then I like make sure that she's getting K2 from her food instead. So I feel a little bit better. And magnesium. Again, if your magnesium is low, your vitamin D won't circulate in your body as well. So that's kind of like one we don't think about, but is really important for optimizing vitamin D. And then I saw something, vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin. So is
Yeah.
K2, by the way. So you need to take it with food, or if you're taking a fish oil, take it with the fish oil. But if you have something with fat in it already, it absorbs better. And take it in the morning. Oh my God, take it in the morning. This is like a circadian
It is.
rhythm thing,
It
right?
is.
Because if you take it at night before you go to bed, you're telling your body that you took the sunshine vitamin before you went to bed.
Yeah.
That's
No.
take it in the morning.
Uh, Somebody also made a good question. She said, family history seems to be a part of where I get this overreactive autoimmune. So look at Vegas. So family history plays a lot in because you're learning your patterns from your parents from when you come out the womb. Even when you're in the womb, your DNA is changing because you got to remember your DNA has those telomeres and stress it is going to either shorten those telomeres and it's even shortening yours that you have your own. So if you have an overreactive immune system or overreactive autoimmune, it's because it's already been ingrained in you, that fight or flight. It's already
Yes.
kind of been ingrained in your DNA and your DNA clocks it on a little bit quicker. So basically your that DNA expresses that disease. It's probably been in your family lineage for so long. But now, because nobody has done, almost like where we talk about generational trauma, where nobody has done the work to take care of that generational trauma is now turning into a disease.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't mean that. Okay.
Yes. Yes. Period. Done. That's it. That was the whole thing. Back to, by the way, just Gabor Mate again, because I love to bring it up in every conversation. But that's exactly right. The generational, whether it's because you lived in the household where that trauma and that sort of that reaction happened, or it was passed down from your great grandma, that is relevant and is stored in our DNA. It's meant to be a protective mechanism, but if we don't deal with it, it ends up being the thing that makes us sick.
And sometimes turning on a disease is a protection mechanism to say, or
Always.
expressing a disease is a protection mechanism to say, sit your ass down. Slow down. I'm
Always.
sorry, I don't mean to say it like that, but slow
Always.
down. Your body
Yes.
is like, I'm
Yes.
done. I can't do this. Sit down.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
done. I can't do this. Slow down. If you
Yes.
change something, then that disease or that autoimmune, like we're having right now, might be less reactive and less overactive. But a lot of times it's
Yes.
sit down. It's a,
Yes.
you need to rest. You need to do this differently. You need to respond differently. Your body is telling you, but we have never learned that that's a response, and that's a response we should listen to.
You know how pain is a signal that you should stop doing that thing? Like you put your hand on the stove, pain tells you move your hand off the stove, stupid, right?
Yes.
Like you're going to hurt yourself, right? Illness is the same thing. And it was like such a game changer when I started viewing illness differently. It started with Alzheimer's, right? With dementia
Mm-hmm.
and Alzheimer's. We used to think, well, like, the body is creating these plaques and it's disrupting neurological signaling because the body is like broken, like it's doing something wrong, right? Cardiovascular disease. You have too much atherosclerosis and plaque buildup because the body is broken. Those are actually reactions to triggers that are creating damage. And the body's actually trying to shellac the damage and creating plaque to kind of smooth it over because it doesn't have the resources to regenerate at that moment. So it's like the best thing I can do is put a little, what do you call it when you have a hole in the wall and you put like
Isn't that
spackle,
shellac? Not
spackle,
spackle.
like
Okay.
spackle, right?
Like,
So it's spackling it, right? But it's not actually fixing the problem because it doesn't have the resources to fix the problem at that moment. And that's what chronic disease essentially is. And when I started to think of chronic disease as a reaction to the environment and an attempt to keep you alive, that was
trying
a
to keep you
game
safe.
changer. It was a game changer.
Go to the hospital, sleep. It's just
Yes.
that's all your body is. Your body is a mechanism here to say, hey, this isn't working. And what we didn't realize, and what a lot of people had not realized, is that's even on an emotional level. That's even on an emotional and spiritual level. Diseases usually happen on a spiritual side before we ever see the
Yes.
actual physical effects of it. And if we're not dealing in the spiritual, you'll never know in the physical. You'll be the last one. But knowing in the physical, you too late. You too late. The disease is
Yeah.
here. You're too
Yeah.
late. That's why knowing in the spiritual is an important thing, and to be connected into your own spirit and be connected into the spiritual to know how your body is reacting,
Yeah.
to know what you may not need to react to.
Yes.
Because it's been telling you all along. Somebody
Yes.
said, let me see. What is dangerous about K2? Well, it all depends. Some people with blood thinners, they're always worried about things like, should I take K? Should I take K2? I don't want to fight with them. Go ahead and do your thing.
Exactly. It's K2 is supposed to be safe and it should not impact the blood thinning effect. But again, I don't want to fight with them. So just go eat some leafy greens and I'm happy.
You know.
Amazing. Oh my God. So
Yeah.
much great conversation happening.
We haven't talked in a while, girl. You've been doing anything.
We haven't talked. We cannot go this long without talking because like it gets a little out of hand.
Yeah. Somebody said I've always had cankles since I was a baby. How do I stop it? Stop. I don't know. That's just your body shape. I can't tell you about cankles.
I don't know about cankles.
I can't tell you about cankles.
Your body is beautiful the way it is.
It is just the way it is. You have cankles for a reason, okay?
Those are strong, grounded legs that are keeping you grounded on this earth.
They helping you survive, girl. Keep them cankles.
Yes.
Don't let nobody talk about your cankles. Tell them
Yes.
you are strong, and that means you ain't gonna break an ankle nowhere.
Nope.
That's what you're telling me. Your ankle ain't getting broke nowhere.
You're not floating away anywhere.
At all. At all. You're not going nowhere. You're not going nowhere. Somebody said, I started having pain in my early 40s.
I started in my 20s.
It all depends.
20s. Yeah. And that was my wake up call. Like so I don't know if I told you the story or not, how like I was like, I had cankles in my 20s.
That's why you fighting for the cankles over here. Okay, I understand.
I know what it's like. So y'all know I'm a pharmacist. I used to work for CVS. CVS, like, go thank your local freaking pharmacist because they are standing on their feet like 10, 12, 14 hours a day. Like it was like no joke. No time to go take a pee break. Like it was rough. It was rough, especially like the store I worked in was crazy. It was insane. So that's why if you call me, I will screen my calls because I won't pick up the phone anymore because I'm so traumatized from answering constant phone calls. Anyway, but during that era, like, and I'm young, like I was healthy. I was a gym rat. I used to be a dancer. I was super athletic. So it wasn't like, oh, I don't move my body. It's like none of that stereotype stuff. I thought I was eating healthy. I was eating a lot of processed food at the time. But what was happening is I'd go home from work. I'd get home from work like 8, 9 o'clock after being standing all day. And my legs were like this fat. They're so swollen, right? And swelling wouldn't go away. Eventually, it was just always swollen legs, right? Knees were bothering me. I was having joint issues. I had trouble like bending my knees sometimes because they were so swollen. And I would literally come home, I'd put my legs up so that I could try to like drain them a little bit, and I'd fall asleep at like 8:30. I was like 26. Like I was so like unhealthy. It was really unhealthy. It was clearly my
Welcome to
body.
pharmacy. It does this to you. Welcome to healthcare.
100%. So for me, all that pain, all that inflammation, I was having trouble doing yoga sometimes. Like I would get on in downward dog and my like wrists would start to hurt, or like my ankle would give out, right? All of this was inflammation that was unaddressed because I was eating a lot of junk food while I was at work. I'd get by on like cereal and protein bars. I had a lot of caffeine. I was just like kind of pushing through my day, way too much sugar. My blood sugar was all over the place. It was mismanaged. That's
Sounds
how
like a stress diet. That's a serious stress diet.
It
When
was
you were,
bad.
we try to help y'all, but we're in the worst situation
Yeah,
ever because we're like going, going, going. Now I ate healthy, but it still just was a breakdown for me.
yeah.
I ate like I was still eating kale salads and different things, and because that's what I was making.
I
But it was
mean, I
still
ate
like
those.
I
But
know you
you
didn't. No, no, I
can't.
was continually
You
eating
can't.
those. Like I was
Yeah,
meal planning serious. So
yeah.
I was like, I
I
was
was thinking crazy.
crazy meal planning. I was meal planning serious, but my ass was still like, it was done. It was
Yeah,
kaput. It was
yeah,
kaput because it was so much stress on my body that I was not like, I told you I was having nightmares of that answering the phone. I was
yeah,
like waking up. I was having to drive an hour or like 40. I live in Texas, so driving an hour somewhere is nothing. But I was having to
yeah.
drive an hour there and an hour back from work. And I was like, I'm tired
Driving
of
is
this shit.
stressful. I love
Driving
driving.
in Texas is
I
stressful.
consider myself a driver. I love
I do
driving, but
too.
it's stressful.
In a city, you like, move, I gotta get to work. Especially me.
Yes,
Especially me.
100%.
Then we had a situation because I was in a place where it was like long-term care and hospice. I had to go deliver to people after my shift is supposed to be over. I'm overworking.
Yeah.
I'm just doing too much. I come in because I'm, like I said, I'm doing hospice. One lady, one time I come in because I had to make a pump, like a pain pump. I'm sitting there and ladies like, oh, we were just telling God, okay, we were just telling God he can go ahead and take me. I was like, okay, is this what I just walked into? She was like, I was ready to die until you came in. Sorry,
Oh my
sorry,
God.
sorry, TikTok. I was ready to be done. And then
Yeah.
you came in with my pain pump because I was in so much pain. I was like, okay, ma'am, this is the end of my day. I don't know if I'm ready for this right now. This is not a conversation I feel like having. So
Um,
yeah.
I want you to talk about, because it's such a good point. What exactly is inflammation? But before you do that, I want to talk about the vibration plate real quick.
Let's talk about
Um,
the vibration plate.
I want to talk about the vibration plate. So I just bought one. I was influenced by TikTok. I saw
Uh-huh.
one too many, but also I'm a person that I'm like that person that buys a gadget so you don't have to, because I am
I want to
super
tell you about it.
interested. I want to tell you about it because that's my job, right? At least to be able to. So at least that's what I tell myself. But I bought one and I like it. And would I say it's like the end all be all and everybody needs one? I don't think so. If you have extra funds, maybe the vibration plate isn't like necessarily what you need. However, there is some legitimate research on vibration and bone building and
Yeah,
lymphatic drainage. And I think that is worthwhile. And I have
like a
learned to
resistance.
focus a lot on lymph drainage, but you can also do that with like dry brushing,
Yeah,
massage, sauna, that kind
the
of stuff.
wood, those little wood tools that also work with
Yes,
lymphatic
yes,
drainage and
gua
everything.
sha, like all those things. So there's other you don't necessarily need a vibration, but there's some interesting research around the bone building part, which if you don't get enough high impact movement, then vibration plate might be a great option for you.
Because that seems low impact yet resistant
Right.
that's needed. So it gives the little resistance that's slightly needed in order for you to have the better bone resorption
It's
and
like
it'll take
shaking it
back
up
everything. Yeah,
without
shaking it
like
up.
bumping you too much, you know?
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents on the vibration plate. What is a vibration? It's like literally, I can't believe you're gonna get all the commercials now that we're talking about.
Yeah, I probably am. Thank
All
you.
the
My
ads.
my line. I'm trying not to scroll. My
Yes.
line will probably go crazy though.
Yeah. It's basically it's a plate, like imagine like it's elevated off the ground, you stand on it, and it has different settings and it literally shakes under you so that it creates a little bit of a vibration under you, and you can either stand on it or you could do exercise on it. The wider plates are built so that you could do things like squats and lunges and things like that, so that you're using the vibration to also build muscle.
Oh, okay. So
It's a
somebody
good thing.
said you need to find a great understanding of what inflammation means. So
Yeah.
basically, inflammation is going to be your body's natural response, and it could be to protect itself. So what happens is, say you cut yourself. That's just a basic way to picture it. When you cut yourself, a lot of times you see it inflame and get red. A lot of times inflammation can be a marker of healing. That's the initial marker of inflammation. So
Yes.
your body is going to inflame and flare up because there are going to be a lot of immune responses coming in to attack whatever thing that might go on, in case there's bacteria there, or if there's anything that tissue is torn, or any of those things to try and repair. Inflammation is a part of the repair process. And so your body is naturally going to have inflammation. Now, the problem comes in when we have continued inflammation from certain things that might be too much for our body. Like saying, when we talk about omega-3s and omega-6s, and your body's getting too much of an omega-6, which your body does need omega-6s. It's just too much of it can cause that inflammation in your body to say, there is something that is not right here.
Yes.
There is something I need to heal here, and I don't have the nutrients fully to heal it. So that is so much against it. So what your body is going to do is it might stay in an inflamed state. And that can happen from injury. It can happen from stress. It can happen from a lot of things, because a lot of times, a lot of the diseases that we have are starting with low-grade inflammation, a lot of times from stress.
Yes.
And so that low-grade inflammation stays for a long time. And that could be where it depots, like we were talking about gua sha and different things. Your lymph system kind of becomes, I don't want to call it stagnant, but it does become stagnant.
Yeah,
where
like
it
sluggish.
it's sluggish, where it doesn't move as much and as well, because what moves your lymphatic system is kind of you walking, your movement, your body being in a relaxed state to actually move that lymph. And a lot of times inflammation is inflaming that, so it doesn't help the movement of the drainage, because your lymphatic system is draining those toxins and those different things. So that's kind of what the inflammation is there to do, to be helpful. But a lot of times it can become a pain, because it is trying to repair and repair and repair in a system that is not getting repaired because it doesn't have enough, because it's not getting the help that it needs.
It's like somebody said, it's like it's this like temporary fix, but it's not getting at the solution. And like, look, I think of the immune system as like a symphony, like an orchestra, right? So you have different sections of the orchestra that have different jobs, and that like feed into the sound that we're all going to be hearing. They might be going at different rates. They might be playing different parts of the song, but they all have a job to play for this like beautiful song that you're listening to, right? And inflammation could be one section of the orchestra that stops functioning altogether, or could be another section that's completely out of tune. So when we say inflammation, it's essentially a mismatch of what the goal is and what the body is doing to address the goal. And the primary thing that the immune system does, if you think of it in two sections, there's like the general protection of your body. It's making sure that your body does not allow any invaders to come in. No parasites, no bacteria, no viruses, not in this house, right? That's the kind of basic premise of the immune system. But there's a whole other side of the immune system that's very nuanced and is meant to repair damage and injury, whether it's from a cut, from surgery, from plaque buildup in your arteries, from damage to your neurological cells. That is another piece of the immune system. So there's a lot of little parts and pieces. So when we say inflammation, generally we're talking about a part of the system that's overreacting to something, but it could be because the body is reacting to the wrong thing at the wrong time. The wrong section of the orchestra is playing the wrong part of the music. Does that make sense?
That's another good way to put it. Hey, Michael.
Is walking pad good for diabetics? I don't see a reason, as long as they can walk and they have good balance. I don't see a reason why you wouldn't use a walking pad. Obviously, listen to your body, but walking is probably one of the best, most effective ways to improve blood sugar. It's so simple. Just
walking is great for everybody. Walking and releases it's stress. Put your walking pad outside. That dirt outside. That dirt outside is what's going to be helpful with that stress. That dirt is going to increase serotonin and dopamine. I think a lot of us don't know that, but it was made for a reason in that way.
Nature and grounding and being out next to trees and in the grass and like being outside in the sun, that is a part of what our physiology requires. So yes, a walking pad is good. Bonus points if you could go outside.
Put that stuff on your balcony and walk on your balcony. Look outside.
Sounds nice.
Keep it basic. But no, I think we're gonna. Girl, we have been on here for almost 2 hours.
More than 2 hours, I
Okay,
think.
we probably about to have to go. We're probably gonna do another one of these. This is
We
just the
have
beginning
to.
of the year. We
We
have to do another one of these.
clearly have to do another one of these. Um,
So healthy and happy, any good herb to help unwanted facial hair. So that means you're probably going to have to hirsutism. What is your hormones looking like? That's what we need to deal with and
Is
deal
it,
within that
yeah,
balance.
is it PCOS? Is it androgen
Yeah,
dominance? Is it something else? So that's a little bit more
there's more
complicated.
to it than me giving you something to get rid of unwanted face hair because it's not going to get rid of it because it's going to keep going because
Yes,
of that situation. So we need
yes.
to address what are your hormones doing? What's going on in your hormones?
I keep my kids to go hug trees. Yes, dig some dirt. Yes.
Keep making my kids go hug trees and dig dirt. Yep, do it.
People get vertigo from the back. I bet they do. It's no joke. Like that. It's not like this gentle little rocket. No, it can be aggressive.
No PCOS, but also no estrogen dominance. Did they not do any other tests? Did they not
Yeah.
look at fibroids? Did they not look at anything like that? Did they not look at your adrenals? Did they not look at anything? They just was like, no PCOS, you're good, you're out.
Also, PCOS is a complicated
Yeah,
diagnosis.
PCOS is very complicated. Some people don't know. Sometimes it can look like somebody said they thought they had Hashimoto's and it was PCOS. It's the craziest diagnosis because of like the immune response and in some things that are going on because it's not just straight black and white. It would have to look at a lot of times what is your insulin or insulin resistance looking like. Those I don't think they look at that enough. But yeah,
Yes. Yeah, and I think there's also a piece of it that's like the part that usually creates unwanted facial hair is going to be androgen dominance. So essentially
yeah,
that androgens, your DHEA, your testosterones, and the metabolites outweigh your estrogen and your
estrogen and
progesterone.
yep. That's what I'm gonna say.
So
What is your
I've seen
testosterone looking
cases
like?
where their testosterone is like normal, but it's that their estrogen is actually
Estrogen.
really low, right? So
So the
it
balance
could
is the
be
ratio that you're supposed to have that they're worried about.
correct.
It's
Or the
not. That's
way
why
you're
we.
breaking it down is messed up. Like
What are
your
your
code's not
metabolites?
really
Is your body releasing it and it's going out of your system in a way? That could be like your detox pathways, like selenium could be playing a part in it. Yes, you both are a part of my 40% heart improvement goal 2025 comeback. Yay! I'm
Yay.
glad we're part of it.
Hey, yeah, comebacks. Don't call it a comeback. Been
Only
here.
white blood cells a little low. There's something more to that than just white blood cells. They
There's
probably
more
need to.
happening.
They
Yeah.
they haven't tested something else.
Yeah. Does a hysterectomy stop PCOS? No, not necessarily. Because it's an androgen issue and it depends
Yeah,
the form of PCOS because there's subtypes of PCOS too. I think they're eventually going to change the PCOS diagnosis and call
they
it something
should.
different because it's too complicated. But there's subcategories of PCOS that are very metabolic, and so what happens with a hysterectomy doesn't necessarily impact that.
Impact it.
Some people
Yeah,
develop this, other people don't.
yeah.
It's called polycystic ovarian, but not everybody has cysts, so like
I
that
know.
doesn't make sense. Yeah, so it depends. I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
know it's
because
a
a lot, like I said, a lot of people are very metabolic. Very.
yes,
They're more
yes,
heavy metabolic than they are cis, and a lot of times that's their issue.
yes.
More so, in having to address that issue rather than
Yes. And I was literally just talking to somebody who is not metabolic, does not have cysts, has a PCOS diagnosis, but it's because her estrogen and the way she metabolizes her testosterone. And
ah.
it's not technically high. So she doesn't have any other symptoms.
But they diagnosed it as PCOS.
She went to a more integrative clinician that gave
Okay.
her the diagnosis. So like they dug a little bit more. But if you just went by standard, she's like rail thin, very fit. She's dancer, like very
I have a friend
athletic.
that's like that. She's not
Yeah.
athletic though. She don't be going to no gym, but
No,
she
she's
got
super
PCOS.
athletic. Yeah, like very fit. And like you would never like it doesn't have the facial hair, like the weird the hair growth stuff, like
Yeah,
none of those. She had acne. That's about it.
yeah.
And they
And if
dug a
it's
little
acne
bit.
right up in here, then of course your
And
hormones
then
that is
they
right here.
were able, they used spironolactone and they were able to control it. So in her
Oh yeah,
case, you would not have seen any other things. So that's why I'm like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Sometimes it's a little more nuanced.
yeah. A lot of these things are a lot more nuanced. Disease is becoming way more nuanced. And I think it already was. They just never wanted to see it that way. They were just, again, trying to make an algorithm to make it easier
Yeah.
to get through all these people and all the situations that were
Boxes.
happening.
Boxes, right? Like because we wanted to create as yeah, make it algorithmic because all our decision trees, the way we sort of make decisions, and it's very helpful. Like when you could put compartmentalize things, it makes
Uh-huh.
it more efficient to be able to get to an answer very quickly. That makes the process of intake, assessment, diagnosis much, much more efficient. But it misses nuance and details. It makes a lot of presumptions on the person and it sort of puts you in a box and then they just like you go through this little algorithm. And again, great for efficiency, fantastic for the way that Western healthcare system is set up, not loses all the nuance and the art of what medicine is. And I think
Yeah.
that's like, I think we're starting with functional medicine and integrative medicine and lifestyle, we're starting to get a little bit back to those roots. But it doesn't fit very well in the way that we're typically taught how to be clinicians. Yeah.
It doesn't, it's not going to fit very well. It doesn't fit very well for the patient. That's why the patient's frustrated, upset, and doesn't want to deal with the doctor anymore.
Yeah. And I get it.
Because there's a lot of people that are like, they just trickled me down here and it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Yes. Or like the doctors don't want to talk to each other, where it's like, well, they get stuck in this like loop where it's like they go to the gynecologist is talking, this is an endo issue. They send them to the endo. The endo tells them this is a rheumatology issue. They send them to a rheumatologist. The rheumatologist is like, this is a gyno issue. They send you back to the gyno. And no one wants to deal with it or talk to the other person. That is a nightmare when you're living with something like, and you can't get an answer. Like that's the seventh circle of hell. I just don't even know. Yeah.
But no, guys, we're going to get back and we're going to do this again. I just wanted to get Laura back into TikTok because I know she was like, I'm tired of TikTok. And I was like, it's not so bad.
I
You
needed
just might
to
have to
take
do it
a
a different
mental
way.
health break last year because I was like doing all the things and like nothing was like, I'm like, I can't, I need to take a break.
Girl, that's how I felt for a long time. And then I just ended up, let me go live. I seem like I can talk better to people, but it just ended up happening. I don't know how. I don't even know.
I love
I
it. I
stopped
love it.
live and then I went back, but I'm still
I
trying to
like
expand.
talking to people. That's
I
my
do
thing.
too. I
I
can't
prefer,
talk.
yes.
I can't, I couldn't. So that's what I did. That's why I got online because I was like, let me just talk to people. And mine alone, it's usually like, I'm just helping to answer your questions because I want y'all to get through. I'm also working on a list to help you to ask your doctor questions, just basic in general, because I think a lot of y'all also get stuck when you
Yes.
go to your doctors and you're like, it's an intimidation thing because they're like, here, take this, do that. And it's
Yes.
like, where do I start with the questions? I don't even know where to
Yes.
start. So I'm gonna just
That's
put up a free
brilliant.
thing that gives you a basic thing of how do I talk to my doctor? How
That's
do I give
brilliant.
questions? Because
Yes.
it can be a hard thing to even deal with your healthcare professional and be so intimidating. And I just want you to have basic ones. What do these labs mean? What does this mean? Blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
I want y'all to do all of that.
Yes.
What does this mean when it does this? If they can't answer those questions, that'll also help you interview a doctor. If they
Yes.
can't answer those questions or they're not willing to do the work to answer those questions, you
Yes.
need a new doctor.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think the more pressure that we put as patients on doctors to change what they're doing gently, because remember they're people too.
Yeah.
But I think the more pressure as a society we could put and the expectations that we have, but I think one of the best ways you could do it is I don't care if you've got 8 minutes with that doctor, having a list like that. Oh my God, that's amazing. Because you forget it's intimidating.
It
And
is.
sometimes they're not, they're like, they're having a bad day. They're not really like listening. You feel like you're not being heard. So just having something that you could just read off of and or even hand them. Hey, you read this. I'm too nervous to talk. Here, you take this. That
And
could
I
be such
even
a
do that.
connection.
I think I may even add like a quick consult. If you're going for a doctor visit and you
Yes.
specifically know what you're going for, let's talk about questions you can ask your doctor. If you want to do a quick consult with me, I might even do like a $10 consult where you can find out if you want to, if you have questions about your meds or questions about any, these are the questions you need to ask. This might be the follow up question you need to ask because that
Yes.
can be some of the hardest things that you deal with.
Yes. I love that so much. That's so brilliant. Like a self advocacy consult.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to my doctor. What other should I have to ask for other tests? Because I just had somebody, but she's like international, and she
Yeah.
asked me that. She was like, "What other tests should I ask for?" I was like, "Well, look at this. If they want to think it's diabetes, yes, have them look at diabetes, but I want you to also have them look at cortisol.
Yes.
Look at this, and look at this, so that we
Yes.
can have before you even go in, you know what you're looking for, and you know how to navigate it, and you know how to be empowered and you're not crazy
I
because
love
you
that.
think you're crazy half the time.
I love that. When that's ready, let me know because I'm gonna like blast it everywhere. Because
Okay.
yes, that's brilliant. I love it. I love it.
That's how I should have phrased the med bottle question. And it can be hard to phrase the questions. It can be hard to
You
phrase
have
the questions.
I
It
feel
can be
like,
hard to phrase the
yeah,
questions.
it's so hard in that little type box. I can't like I get it. It's hard to
I
type
get it.
it.
It's okay.
So
It's
we
okay. And
appreciate everybody who's typing in there
yes,
and doing the
we
work. Like
appreciate all the comments, all the love, all the gifts. We appreciate y'all. We'll be back doing this. I know I usually did mine for Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm gonna see how my schedule is this year and see what they're doing, see what's gonna happen this year and how I'm gonna give out like what time I'm gonna give y'all to do lives. Because I know this can be helpful. Because look,
yeah.
this healthcare is not easy. It wasn't easy for me. I was being gaslit and didn't know because I'd be running in a meadow and skipping in a meadow like nothing's happening. And then I'll be like, he discriminated against me. I don't find out till later. Somebody told me, you know, you got discriminated against. And I was like, dang, didn't know. The whole time I was going to get a transplant. I was like, why did they deny me these meds? Like, why did she deny me pain meds? I said I was at a 10. She was like, you're at a 10, you're fine. Go, roll out. I was like, oh, okay. And then I went up and
That sucks so much.
and I didn't really pay attention because I was just like, I was trying to get through life. And
Yeah.
I know how a patient feels because a lot of times you're not paying attention, especially as a Black patient. You're just like, I'm just trying to survive this. I'm just trying to
Yes.
get through life.
Well, and also we're talking about a transplant. You're literally trying to survive this. Like literally.
And I needed a transplant. I was just like, I hadn't found out then. I had got a biopsy. And after the biopsy, I was in so much pain. And you know what I did? I had to go home. And I'm sorry. Yes, I'm a doctor, a healthcare professional. I longer did this, but I smoked some weed. My friends came and picked me up, and I was in pain, and I was like,
No, I'm
you
glad
go.
you did because it does help. Like,
Yes, and I smoked some weed, and I like laughed, and I was like, okay,
yes.
that's funny. And so the thing is, like, it sucks. I know how people suck, and you don't get. Hey, the HRT coach, you don't get heard, you don't get anything, and you're in pain, and you're leaving somewhere.
Yeah.
And they're like, you don't need a pain med. You're good. Black people can take the pain. Like,
Yeah.
dang. They don't say
Yeah.
that, but you find that out
No,
later.
but like they literally think that. Like they literally think that. Like unfortunately, that is how they think. And that's it's so fucked up. It's so fucked up.
Like, I don't get how that makes sense to them to me. But
Yeah.
again, I'm this color, so it doesn't make sense to me. So yeah.
Well, and I
I don't
think
be like,
also
white
you
people.
probably optimistically thinking
Yeah.
because when you're in healthcare, you have that empathy for other healthcare clinicians. Like I think our threshold for that is a little bit wider because we know what it's like to be like on the other side. So you probably like weren't even thinking about it, partly because you would never think that way as a clinician. So why would they treat you that way? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
No, we're going to get out of here. We'll
Oh, we
come
got
back for another
we can
one.
talk
I
all
will have
night.
to. We could talk all night because that's what we do. That's what me and Laura do. I actually need to go and visit Laura. But yeah.
Yes.
So what's the test called for inflammation? There are multiple tests for inflammation. So it all depends because there's like ANA markers. There's
I'm gonna give you the basics. I'm gonna give you the basics and say like it depends because yeah, like I'm like sitting here opening the door because I could sit here and go vitamin D, blah blah blah, omega-6, omega-3, all those things. Insulin has to do with inflammation, but if I had to,
yeah.
if we're being very literal in terms of literally inflammation tests, ESR, CRP, or HSCRP. So HS stands for high sensitivity, which is a little bit better than
Yeah.
CRP. And then if you need anything like an autoimmune panel, would be an ANA.
Yep.
Or any specific autoimmune marker for like rheumatoid arthritis or Hashimoto's, whatever those are. But if you're strictly looking at inflammation, like I want to know if I have inflammation, it's ESR and HSCRP would be my two go-tos.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
But I think we're going to be out.
We gotta go.
More. We can talk forever. We'll talk. We gotta go.
You gotta go. You gotta go home. You're still at work.
I'm still at work. I gotta work a little bit, then go home.
Yeah. So we're gonna let Renata go home. Thank you for dragging me out of my TikTok cave.
It's okay. I'm glad. I want other people to know.
Let's do this again.
Yes, we definitely will.
This app doesn't go away because we can do this on Instagram, I guess, but I like it better here. I do.
I do too. I don't know why. Instagram can be a little
It's like it's a little stuffy. You know?
It is.
Like it's got a little attitude, and I just like that this is like chill. Like I could spill my tea all over myself in the middle of a live and like be like, whatever.
We're not worried about it. We just want to hear the information, lady. Bring us the information. That's basically what they're saying. But yes, bye Farm bye Farm Friends, bye Evan
Bye.
Souls, bye everybody. Thank you.
Thanks,
We love
everybody.
y'all. Bye.
Love you. Bye.